Yeah, yeah. Oh, nice. Let's do it. Yeah, because I didn't have like any elevator music on or anything like that, so
Ah.
I still need to figure that out. But hey, hopefully we have chat up today. So let's see. Switch us over. Chat is not going to be available in this screen, but in the next screen we'll have chat. Hopefully, hell yeah! Hello, everybody.
Ooh. Sorry, I ruined
What
your
were you gonna
intro.
say?
Look at that handsome man with that fancy new t-shirt.
Oh yeah. It's already dirty, but you can't see it. That's why I'm kind of like lower down, you know? It's look, dude, I can't be trusted with like anything white because as soon as I eat something, I'll just spill and then it's like ruined for the rest of the day. So, and
Yeah, what do you think I'm wearing all black every time?
yeah, I think this is the only white thing that I have. Oh, but how are you doing, man?
Yeah, doing good, doing good. Recovering from some holidays, but it was fun, so
Yeah. And we were just casually chatting before where you're taking up like your background to the next level. And I'm just here with my silly frames. Look at this comparison. This guy is just like fully dressing it up, and I just hang, just hang some frames on my wall.
no, I saw the frames on general chat. It was like, looking amazing. You need to show
Yeah,
us like the finished one.
yeah. I was showing it off like last stream as well. I think. Let's see. There's like another row on top of that row that you can see on the screen right now. Um, oh, it's so good. And I have like a couple of other frames coming. This is something that I wanted to do for like the longest time, but I've never really found like a good way of doing it. And it's like those stereotypical like frames where you can put in a disc and then the cover of like the game what you worked on. So I ordered like a couple of those frames, and I'm probably gonna hang like a couple of them up as well. So it's gonna be good. You should flex even more and using the TV as a video backdrop. Oh, dude, you could. Oh, you could have like, if we do like winter streams, you could have like one of those like cozy fires like on the background going. You're still muted, by the way.
Oh
Oh,
no,
look
yeah, I
at
was
this guy.
adjusting. I was adjusting my microphone. Yeah, that's
Oh,
unprofessional.
yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say I want to try the. Do you remember like those Winamp visualizations or something like
Oh
that? Like there
God.
is a 4-hour video on YouTube, and it's like so trippy to just have it in the background. So I might try it next time.
Yeah.
We need to discuss about the copyright implications of that. But, you know.
I feel like when we're talking about like Winamp and all that kind of stuff, I feel like copyright wasn't really a thing just yet, you know? Like people
Okay,
were
yeah.
just like adding whatever skin onto whatever they wanted, you know? Dude, but I was talking about this like this week about like the Windows like not movie player, like the music player like skins and like the Winamp skins and like all that kind of stuff. Um and I just realized that it made me
Feel
sound like
old?
really old. Yeah.
No.
I
I
was
don't
like,
know,
I'm
man.
teaching these kids like what Winamp is, and they're like, "Wow, sounds shit. I got Spotify now."
I mean,
Oh
I'm
my
still happy
God.
with Windows Media Player sometimes. You know, it has some decent visualizations, but you need to go digging through it, like to find it.
Oh yeah, yeah.
They're trying
Or
to
like,
hide it.
or like the old Windows screensaver where it's like the tubes, like the endless
Oh,
tubes that are
yes,
just going
yes.
around.
Windows 9. Was it XP or no? Yeah, it probably was XP. It wasn't even that old.
Yeah. Was it XP? Wasn't it older than that? Because I kind of feel like XP was like the first time where they started taking stuff like a little bit more serious. I don't know. That's how it felt to me, at least. Based on like a screensaver, you know?
Although I gotta
people,
say, oh,
people
no,
are
go on, go on.
vouching for like Winamp like in the chat as well. We should bring it back.
And
Sorry, you were
Adam
gonna
is
say
saying,
something.
yeah, Adam's saying portfolio review sponsored by Playground Games. We also got Gymshark. Wait,
Gymshark. RC. What does the RC stand for?
a run club. I did the 10K after 2 raves one day.
Oh. 10K.
Yes.
I am not ready for that. Like, not even mentally.
It's a very funny story, yeah. I was on 4 hours of sleep that day.
Oh god.
But I got
feel like
the free
that's
t-shirt.
That's pretty good. How long did it take you?
A bit over 1 hour. It wasn't nowhere near my normal pace.
Oh, okay. Look at this guy bragging like, oh, just like a casual 10K run. Here's me already sweating walking to work, but hey, okay.
You know, you should try running to work.
Oh god.
Since you're gonna already sweat anyways, might as well go fast.
Yeah, I don't really prescribe to this like sort of like logic. Like that doesn't work on me.
I can sell you my bike. I don't really use it now, you know.
Oh, interesting.
We can chat. Yeah, we can chat about it later.
Yeah. This turns into like a like a deal behind closed doors. Let's see what people are saying as well. Are you wearing a Playground Games t-shirt? Yes, I am. Yeah, got it when I joined. This is honestly the first time that I'm wearing it. Because I don't really think about the t-shirts that I'm wearing, and I just picked the top of the pile, and this t-shirt just happened to be on top this time. So, Tim there in the PG shirt, portfolio review, sponsored by Playground Games and Microsoft Game Studios. Definitely not. I don't think. Maybe that's another deal for like closed doors. You know, like maybe we'll speak to some people.
Yeah, you know, I know some people at Playground. I can.
Oh yeah. You do the negotiations, and then I'll just sit on the sidelines. You know. Awesome.
And also, before we change topic again, I want to say how disappointed I am about your background, like missing one piece at the very end.
I know. I spent like 15 minutes talking about that in last stream where I was just like so annoyed, and people didn't even notice it until I was like, hey, look at this one missing, and then people were like, why did you point it out? So, but I think that's gonna happen like regardless, because like last time we had like seven entries, right? And I think honestly what's gonna happen now is that there are gonna be as many groups until like there's always like one slot that just remains open, right? I think people will even drop out to make that happen.
Cool, yeah. I can join next time. Just so I can drop out.
What, just to drop out? Oh my god. If you move the one behind your head, no one will notice. Yeah, but then I'll have to do the stream like, oh my god, that's so far away.
Just stay perfectly still, you know?
Yeah.
Oh.
It's like long distance, like portfolio reviews. Oh my god.
It was a cool pose, you know? You could stay that.
Yeah.
Let's move the microphone a bit closer and you're ready.
I feel like, yeah, but that's the thing, like my arm doesn't go that far. You could almost see it as like casual art direction, you know? Like just like the art director with like his legs crossed, just like casually just like saying that you need to move the toilet left or right or whatever the gif is.
I mean, I got an armchair. Wait, oh no, wrong. Oh no, it has clothes. Oh no.
Okay. I'm gonna let you all in on like a little sneaky like fact. Like Angelo put up his camera and then immediately started cleaning. So like we're seeing like a very cleaned up version of his apartment right now. I just want you to be aware of that.
Oh no, got exposed.
Yes, exposed.
I mean, if it takes me 20 seconds to clean the house, it's a fairly clean house, don't you think?
Or it just means that you have a small apartment.
But I don't.
Yeah. To be honest, it's not bad. I mean, you also just moved in, right? So if you're already taking like 2 hours to clean it, come on, man.
Yeah, just moved, but with all my stuff. I didn't get rid of anything.
Yeah.
Too much stuff.
Yeah, dude, you're telling me. Anyway, we're gathered here today. It sounds like a wedding or something like that. We're gonna be looking at some portfolios. So let me actually change up the screen.
Oh no, I thought it was a casual 2-hour chat.
Surprise! Let's switch it over. Okay, so we got 4 portfolios today. I think did we do 4 last time as well? I don't think we did, right?
No, we did. I think we've done 4 every time.
Yeah.
I think we just took our sweet time last time. It was more than almost 3 hours. I don't remember, but
that makes sense. That makes sense. So we're gonna be looking at 4 people here today. Yeah. Let's have a look, shall we? So I'm trying to keep some sort of a structure to this, right? So that we kind of go and we go from very macro to very micro. So we'll have a look at how people present themselves, what their title is, and then we'll have a look at some of the thumbnails, and then we'll just dive into the work before we do a recap of everything that we discussed basically. And hopefully we can condense it into 3 actionable points that you can have a look at. But yeah, if anyone in the chat has any questions in the meantime, feel free to bring them up as well. I'd love to make this a casual chat too. Talking about a casual chat, hi Frida, welcome, and welcome to everyone else as well. I didn't say hi. How rude of me. Okay, so what do you think? Should we dive into the first one, Angelo?
Yes, sir.
Awesome. So first one we have is Daniel. Oh my god, am I gonna try to pronounce? I'm so bad with pronouncing names. Bogdanovic? Sorry about that, Daniel.
I think it would be Bogdanovic.
Oh, hey, there we go.
I have a Lithuanian friend, so I can cover Eastern Europe,
That's awesome. And I can cover Dutch, and that's it.
Nice.
Awesome. So Daniel, let's have a look here. First, as I said before, let me bring up my phone. Thomas is actually asking a good question in the chat. So how do you know when your portfolio is gonna be shown? There is a site that we use to kind of organize all this information, and I'll link that into the chat right now. Go check that out. That's where you can see whenever your portfolio is coming up. That being said, see if I can the pen on the screen. Cool. So Daniel is a 3D prop and environment artist at freelance. Okay, so we're dealing with a freelancer. Awesome. We got a 3D artist. In general, it kind of works a little bit different for a freelancer, I think, because you're kind of supposed to be a little bit more of a jack of all trades. I don't know how you feel about that, Angelo.
Yeah, ideally, in today's world, I'd say ideally you'd still want to specialize at least in one area. It's good to have the overall knowledge because it helps you be more efficient with communicating with everyone, the different companies that you might join, or teams, departments, what have you. But yeah, usually for freelance the quality bar is much higher as well, at least yeah from what I feel. It's been a couple of years since I've done any freelance, so I can't really say too much on how the situation is right now. But usually people outsource some specific parts, let's say props, in Daniel's case, or hard surface assets, for example, vehicles, spaceships, or things like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, specialization sometimes works a bit better if you're having trouble finding clients.
Yeah, I think that's a good point actually. Generally, the more you specialize, the more of a niche you can cover, right? and then the more you're gonna stand out in that niche as well. Because right now, if someone is looking for, and this is what I'm assuming is gonna happen, right? Like now, what was that?
Sorry. Please continue.
um. So I was talking about specialization, right? So that if a studio is gonna look for hey, we need some cars, right? For example, they're gonna be looking at like people that are really specific to like making cars, right? Because they want people who are like really into that. Whereas as a 3D artist, I think what you're gonna end up with, and again, this is coming from like a person who hasn't done freelance in the same capability as you're talking about now. I think you're gonna always end up in like the lower end of like all studios, because those are the ones that are kind of looking for like a person who can kind of fill in like an empty slot on the team and are not really looking for anything specific. So I think in general, the more you specialize, like the more of a market kind of you can kind of grow into like a market into a niche, right? And that also usually comes with like potential of bigger pay and all that kind of stuff too. So yeah, I think specializing would be interesting. Thinking about it more. Let's see. So Daniel is working with Blender, Substance Painter, Unity, Unreal Engine 5, based in Vilnius. Awesome. Let's also have a quick look at the about page as well. Three artists at Uraga. Go ahead.
Yeah, mainly just I think I would like to see some more information overall here. Like just a few bullet points. What were you doing at those like freelance or like currently doing? Because it's it still says from February 22 to this day. So I guess they might be still working with them. But yeah, I'd still like to see some more information of like the typical responsibilities that you're assigned to, or like what kind of assets you're making there, and which departments you're working with, all that nice stuff.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. Just like, what are you responsible for, right? Because then if people see that, they know that they can hire you to do the same thing. And right now, it's super broad, like props and environments, right? But that can mean so many things. Yeah, that's a great shout.
And also, like I want your opinion on that, but like, doesn't also help? For example, let's say companies sometimes like have some automatic algorithms, bots. I don't know what they are, but like once you send in your ArtStation link or like your CV, they check for like keywords, and they can sort of filter out the candidates that have those keywords, at least on a high level. So like if they have so many applicants and they don't really have the time to review every single one of them, maybe they're using those things. But do you have any experience on that?
So this is an interesting one. I actually have no experience on this whatsoever, but I've heard it so many times, right? And I think it's more like American companies that are really into this. Because I've heard so many times that like, hey, you need to make your CV in a certain way so that if it goes into the system can automatically pick up like certain things. But working in the studios that I worked in, like I've never seen it work like that. Like it always went through like a recruiter that then picked out like the first batch and then would send that batch to like the team to then have a look at. So I don't know. It is a good thing if you can condense like your work into like keywords, right? Because that's always going to resonate with people. But yeah, I don't know how far you should go into that to actually make like to make it work with like these automated systems. So yeah, might be an interesting thing to research a little bit more, because I see it like coming up like every couple times or like every couple months on Twitter or LinkedIn where people are discussing it, right? But I actually have no clue how far that rabbit hole goes.
Yeah, I mean, I don't worry too much about it, but I try to, personally, I try to write some bullet points with the responsibilities and what I did in its like job position, and it has worked out for me. But
Yeah,
yeah, I can't
100%.
really
Like,
recommend anything else. Yeah.
yeah, like definitely work with like keywords, write in a way that they know what you're responsible for, who you work with, all that kind of stuff. That's definitely gonna help. And then whatever automated system comes on top of that, like you're still gonna be using the same keywords anyway, so you should be good, I think. Okay, so let's actually have a look at the work then. Let's go back to the art station here. Oh, let's actually let's go back. Cool. Okay, so we got like 4 images here. We see 3 props and then 1 environment. Let me actually quickly check if that is everything. Yes. Awesome. Okay, I'm just gonna kickstart it off. I'm probably gonna start with like the older one. Okay. Interesting first shot because I feel like this shot doesn't really tell us that much, right? It's just like a zoomed in version of like something, but the shapes are not too recognizable, so I don't know what we're looking at yet. And then the second shot is like the actual robot as well. This is quite old. This is like from 2 years ago as well. So see if we kind of keep that in mind. Yeah. I feel like overall, the presentation is pretty lackluster, right? Like it doesn't feel like there's like a lot of effort that went into it. The textures can be improved by just adding more depth and like more variation in the roughness. And then also it's missing a lot of like the breakdowns or anything like that that you would expect as well. Which we kind of bring up like in every episode of this.
Yeah, everyone. So
That's going to be really important. But I'm curious to see where this goes next. So I'm going to keep it like quite light and short for this episode, so that we have like 4 people that we can do in 2 hours. So I'll try to keep that in mind as well. But yeah, what are your thoughts on this, Angelo? Like,
yeah, I mean, totally agree. Feels like one of the first models that you would create like as exercises. So I see some nice like detailing, like visual information here and there, like some nice detailing on the like cable having text, and like some situations where the rust is placed nicely, and like that would make sense. But overall, I think material definition isn't there. The shapes, like it feels to me like it's one of those like models that you just make up. You're not following any reference or concept. So especially if that's your first prop, it's all very tricky to nail it down. Almost impossible, let's say. And I'm getting that kind of feel. And then, as you said, presentation. Yeah, sometimes you get a shadow catcher. On other shots, you don't have any. So it feels a bit inconsistent on that front too.
yeah, exactly. Well, let's see. Let's see what.
Yeah,
the
like
next
it's gonna
one
be interesting to
is.
see the evolution throughout the years.
Exactly. Okay, so this is a high poly model only. So that means that it's like an exercise in just like shape language, right? And if you can nail forms with like geometry that you're building, this can be good if you wanna develop that skill specifically, but it doesn't really have too much value when it comes to the actual game art production pipeline, right? Because the high poly is usually the easy part, like making it like actually
Yes.
optimized and working in a game. That's where the tricky stuff comes in, right?
And
Let's
same
see.
with like just using Blender, because you can texture that in Blender with procedural textures and materials. You can like use ray tracing and all those fancy things you got in your disposal. But if you want to aim for like a game dev studio, it would be much better to just do it inside Unreal and showcase that you know how to set up some basic master materials, a few like lights here and there. So yeah, you know how to use the engine as well. And and asset implementation, which is a lot. Very important on outsource projects, I guess, like as a freelancer.
Oh yeah. That's a good point. Yeah, I mean it's cool. Like the proportions and like the structure of the Jeep itself feel really consistent with what I have in my head this vehicle to be. Right, we don't have any references to compare it to, but it feels really nice. Again, I think the texturing feels really flat here. That's also because you textured it inside of Blender with geometry nodes. You can make some really cool textures inside of it as well, but it feels like you haven't gone far enough in that yet. Um, but there might be an interesting angle to this though, where if it comes down to the wording here, right? But like it says created and textured in Blender with geometry nodes. If you did the model and the asset as well in geometry nodes, then that would be like a really interesting angle to showcase. I don't think that that's the case, but if you did some like really fancy geometry node stuff to like let's say generate the whole Jeep and you can change it on the fly or something like that, that would be really interesting to showcase then. Because yeah, that would be pretty advanced. Yeah, like I said again, like it follows the shapes, it has all the forms, but it's just it's not game art, right? And then once we start looking into like the actual details, like we're missing like a separate shader for like the tail lights, for example. The texturing, like I said before, kind of feels like really flat. So yeah, definitely a lot of
See,
improvements that can be made here.
see, I don't mind like how from on one hand it looks a bit basic, like all of the metals are basically one material, but also like I like the fabric material, I like the rubber material for the tires, looks like well made. So yeah, as you said,
That
like
is true.
definitely some more variation and like give it more love overall. And yes, as you said, I think it would be invaluable to have like the reference, the like some real photo of that car, and then like have it side by side with the like 3D model, just so you can basically compare them one to one, and you can start like go through all of the different car parts and then just hammer down on like different materials and doing adjustments.
Yeah. That is
Uh,
very true though. Like the stuff that you mentioned about like the base materials, like the materials themselves as a base, like they read really well. So that is very true.
Yeah, it's like a overall big improvement compared to the previous prop, for example, where you couldn't
Oh
really
yeah,
tell if something was metallic, was something plastic or not.
100%.
Um, and also, see, I want to say something. Oh yes. Since it's a high poly, you could also have had some just flat AEO shots. Like I really love those ones, especially for high poly projects, just so you can better showcase the detail you went to with the modeling side of things.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, there are
Like,
some like really nice places, like the shovel, for example, like has
oh
some really
yes,
interesting stuff going on.
yeah, with a black and white and like very punchy ambient occlusion render, you could just showcase that. And like for same for the cockpit, perhaps something for like showcase the drivetrain underneath the car, because it looks like there's on the second to last image, like I can see that there is lots of detail in there, but you're not really showcasing that because it's
Mm.
hidden. Yeah, it's a bit dark, which makes sense,
Mm-hmm.
but would be very like looks like a place where I would be very interested to see in more detail.
Yeah. Nice. Yeah, no, like you were saying as well, like massive improvement from the previous one. Um, so that's great. We're just gonna keep on forging ahead. So let's see what the next one is up to. Oh, nice. So okay, this is 9 months ago. When was the last one?
Over a
Like
year, yeah.
like a couple of months between these guys, and like now we're getting into like game art territory, right? I'm already seeing like a try count, like the textures that you're using, using Blender and Substance for texturing, rendering a marmoset, That's all good. Inspired after a long half-year journey through Thailand. That's awesome.
Oh,
That
can you take me
is.
with you?
He's just looking for any excuse to go on an adventure again. You
No,
started
I'll
out the
mark it.
stream with saying that you were tired from the last one.
I'll take it as a learning day, you know. I'll gather some
Okay.
references. But yeah.
That is true though.
Uh,
Like I've been listening to like a lot of stuff about like building your visual library recently, right? And like going on a trip is probably like the best excuse that you can have to like really experience the world, and then also building like your references, right? Like your internal references that you have in your brain.
yeah. See, I'm not gonna get started because I'm just gonna go on a huge tangent right now. And we're doing portfolio reviews. Maybe it's like a time for a podcast, you know. Oh no, I said it again.
No, the forbidden word. How dare you? Oh my god. I could was just saying Angelo is like Bilbo Baggins itching for an adventure.
I can relate to that.
Let's see. We're looking at the asset here, and yeah, again, we're seeing like a step up when it comes to the texturing, right? Especially when it comes to like the pretty flat textures that we had in the high poly before. We're getting like a lot of like really interesting detail happening. A lot of like visual interest is happening. Nice damage on the edges. We're getting some like local dirt in like some of the crevices as well. Just starting to look like really nice. And it is honestly a pretty good starter prop, you know, to really get into the
Yes.
flow of like, hey, I'm gonna work for like real-time engines. What is the pipeline that I'm gonna be using? This one is actually perfect because it is pretty boxy, but it has some like interesting stuff that you can add to it as well. So yeah,
Yeah, I
not a
think
bad choice.
like the material definition is like especially around the yellow metal, I assume. It's like that dirt is I think perfect, honestly. Especially looking
Yeah.
at the side. Maybe like yeah. While you were talking, I was just flying around with in the marmoset viewer. But yeah, I can see some roughness variation and like imperfections, as you said, like some edge wear, some like well placed rusting here and there, and weathering overall. Yeah, I think my main thing would be on the modeling side of things, which is like, as you said, a bit boxy looking. Which
Yeah.
for that, honestly, I think it's just a matter of using references like from real life, like gas pumps, because that's the best place to like just use to fill in the blanks that you might have in terms of how am I gonna design this one, or like
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm just looking at like the edges, right? Like there's a lot that you still need to learn when it comes to the actual baking of the prop. Because that is like the saving grace of like making something that is a box, not look and feel like a box, right? Where you have like those nice bevel on the edges. Um there's nothing really like that happening here. Like there's some indications that you tried, but if you then still see like the underlying geometry kind of like supporting it, that's not the purpose of like baking, right? So when it comes to like a section like this, if you're really struggling with making that work, maybe add like a little loop in there, like just like a little bevel in the geometry to make that work. But for some of these like straight edges, yeah, you'll just have to look at like the baking fundamentals, like making sure that whatever is like 90 degrees, that you have it marked as like a sharp edge or a hardened edge, and then also split them up into like separate UV islands as well.
yep.
And then that's gonna help out with the results like a lot already.
Or nowadays you can just use some more geometry. I mean, if it would make sense though, is what I'd say. Like just give the overall like both the high poly some more detail, just so you can have it as an excuse to make a more detailed low poly prop. So like give some like those metal beams, not beams, beams. some some like bent and like let's say something hit it or like it started bending for throughout the years. It's already rusted, so I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure that's not a brand new gas pump, right? So yeah, same with the how is that called? The top one, corrugated
Mm-hmm.
metal. Yeah, I would just add some play around with the soft selection and like give it some more geometry.
Oh
Chip
yeah.
off some parts. Let's say like something's rusted throughout, because of all the rain and humidity throughout the years. It wouldn't make sense for that to be perfectly clean on the top. Like
Yeah.
some dust pile up, some rust, what have you.
Yeah, 100%. Like, I think just getting away from like the boxy feel is gonna help a lot, right?
Yeah.
I usually refer to this when I'm doing streams as like giving a prop character, right? Because this feels like 3D, but once you start adding like those little like dents and wobbles and like the little like just variations in like the shapes, that's when it's gonna transition from feeling 3D to making it actually feel like it's like an actual thing that you could encounter in real life as well. Um, so yeah, definitely take that advice to heart. Also thinking about the presentation, there's like a couple of easy wins, right? Like try to put it into context. You don't have to make that context yourself, but just see what you can find online. Usually Megascans is a go-to where you just have like a little ground plane with like a little bit of dirt. Maybe there's like a couple of trees behind it to kind of simulate that this is like a thing that is found on your journeys in Thailand, right? I'm assuming that you have like a bunch of really interesting pictures. Get inspired by those, right? And try to recreate like a small scene. Again, you don't have to make everything yourself, but just make the main component of the scene yourself and then just dress it up and like try to tell a little bit more with it as well. Yeah,
Something other. It's a bit nitpicky, but I just noticed.
go
I'm
for it.
pretty sure if you go through in the Marmoset viewer and just zoom in on the like the signpost that says Happy Oil, pretty sure like they used uh, this one from like a photo reference. So like literally, no,
Yeah.
don't have to go through the albedo. Because I also noticed some inconsistency on the textile density if you go slightly below where we get the numbers.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So like some
I
things are
see
like
it.
super blurry because it's using the same like textile density as the rest of the prop, while these numbers are probably unwrapped differently. So yeah, I would just like be extra conscious of that, especially synods. I would probably have them as a separate material or like separate UV island, UV cell, and
Yeah. I think honestly that is what happened, right? Like realizing that the numbers weren't readable, so they have like a little cut in the geometry, and then they just made that into like a separate thing where they can kind of like scale it up or down whenever they wanted to. But yeah, like Angelo was saying, like at this distance, right, which is like let's say normal distance if it's like a first person game, that is really visible. And that is the sole purpose of why texel density is a thing in the first place. Like texel density is purely there to make all the resolutions of all the textures like similar so that we don't get something that can break our view of what the game is trying to tell us, right? Because in this case, it's like, oh, these textures are shit, but that's only because we have something like high resolution to compare it to, like right next to it. If the other stuff was like barely readable and it kind of had the same texel density, that's fine, right? If it was all really high resolution, that would be fine too. But if you have two of the separate things, like that's usually when like stuff falls through. You are right though. Even though it's a nitpick, it's like a valuable one though. Um, because yeah, it is a lesson that you learn the hard way. Awesome. Let's jump over to I think the final project here, right? And that's let's see, posted 3 months ago. My first big size project. Many things I've learned, many to still need to learn. One of the many things that took me much time is that 60% of the work was improvising. Yes. And honestly, you can tell. And this is not like a complaint like directly against you. It's like a general thing that a lot of like students and like people that are trying to get in, like they struggle with this because we have this world that we have in our head and we want to put that on the page in front of us, but we don't have all the necessary skills to do so. So in the beginning, what we need to do is we need to separate like our technical ability from like our artistical ability so that we just focus on the concept or a lot of smaller props so that we can execute on like getting all the techniques and then like scale up as needed. Because as you're doing that, like, and you've probably noticed this yourself, is that you go from like a single prop, which is like pretty straightforward. Like, there's a lot of technicalities that you still need to overcome, but it's pretty straightforward when it comes to textile density, bacon 0 to 1, like all that kind of stuff. And then you get into like an environment which then requires you to work with like tideable textures, trim sheets, like all that kind of stuff to make it look good. And that's where you're gonna add like a lot of complexity to the whole thing. And what I'm seeing here is that there's like fundamental skills that are still missing. For example, proportion is one of them, right? There's something really off between like the tiles on the floor and the benches that are on top of them. The same with like the height of the whole building. Like, it doesn't feel like a real space because the proportions don't really work. Even though this is a church and they're meant to be like enormous, right? Yeah.
Also, in terms of theme, like I can tell this is a church, but like the building itself doesn't feel like a church. You know, feels like a modern brutalist kind of church, or like maybe sci-fi with those like shapes and angles that we got. Also, like I can see in one of the shots one monstera at the very end. I'd never seen a monstera in my life, or like a fern plant inside a church. So I think it's mainly context and just as you said, like I was reading through the description, and Daniel mentioned that next time he's gonna spend more time on like detail planning and building a much larger reference library. And I think that would be the first step that I would recommend.
Yeah.
The second one, as you said, just scale down first while you're developing those skills, just so you don't get overwhelmed and spend the whole year on one project, because that way you feel demotivated, you don't know like where to focus first, and you just to make a deep dive in the unknown world of environment art.
Yeah.
Like, it's already like the fact that you went from just a high poly in Blender to then like doing a full like high to low poly prop using both Substance Painter and like doing the baking, doing the like actual like game engine like texturing, game ready texturing in Painter, and then jumping in Unreal is already impressive. So I'll just say just take it a bit slower. Just don't scale up the size, the size of the scenes that you're making, just so you can do it in manageable parts, and just nail one skill at a time.
100%. And it's interesting that you bring all these points up, because I started reading through like the text here, and one of the things that he mentioned, like you mentioned as well, more references, right? That's definitely going to help. Second part is where do we put the focus, right? Something that we talk about a lot is like, what's the focal point, right? And what's the kind of story that you're trying to tell with the focal point? And then the last thing, like we've both been saying, is much smaller spaces and adding more interest to them, right? So it's interesting that you've taken away all these learnings, because the learnings are really good, right? And you've come a long way. And to be honest, like, that's the way that I discovered like a lot of the stuff too, right? I ran into the wall face first and then realized that like, hey, there's a wall here. Okay, let me take a step back, right? So keep that up. Keep following that passion as well. And talking about the passion, it's interesting that you mentioned yourself moving to the fun part. It was so much fun texturing the assets. there might be something there that is hinting you towards like, hey, that is a thing that I really enjoy compared to all the other things. So keep that in mind as you're going forward, because that might be worth just like doubling down onto, like over time, potentially, right? But I think you're still in like a very experimental stage at this point, so keep an open mind. Yes. Okay. I think it's time for a little bit of a recap. Let's go back onto the main page for Daniel.
Sounds good.
And let's have a look. So number one, I'll kick it off with this one. Sort of basically what we said during the entire time is that you're making like awesome progress, right? Doing really well in terms of your progression. And you've mentioned this yourself as well, but I want to see smaller, more detailed. Whether that is like an environment or a prop, I want to see something that is smaller, more detailed, and tells a story as well. That's what I want to see. Move on to number two. What do you think?
I'd say not necessarily specialized, but I would write it as like find your niche and like what you most enjoy doing, and just perfect that, showcase that under the best light.
Yeah, I think that's a good one. That's kind of what I was hinting at the end, right? Because you said that, hey, this is a fun part, texturing. There might be something there that is like hinting at like, hey, maybe this is something that you want to do more of, right? And keep exploring that side of things. So we'll kind of add that as like a question mark. Because the thing is, I can guarantee you that the reason why you hate some of the other parts is because you're not really comfortable with them yet. For example, baking. It's annoying. It's yeah, it's really annoying to work with. I struggle with that a lot when I was a student myself as well. But once you kind of figure out like the theoretical knowledge behind it and then find like a good pipeline to do it, like it becomes like an easy step of the process. You
Yeah,
just have to
just
do it.
unconsciously doing it. Yeah.
Exactly. So
Same with
right now,
UVs.
yeah, exactly. Like right now, that might be texturing, but over time, that's why I'm saying keep an open mind, because that might shift from texturing to also include other things too. And then the third one is there's like a couple of things that I kind of want to smush into one thing. I'll call it like optimize your portfolio. Not now necessarily, but to me that means cutting down on the stuff that is not really game art and adding more game art to it, right? So, for example, when we're talking about like a game art portfolio, these two are really relevant. Number 1 and 2 are really relevant. I could make the case for, if we're talking about game art, like this one, honestly, probably even more. And then the Jeep is more like a modeling exercise, right? That's the way that I would look at it. But I would definitely keep like number 1 and 2, and then just keep adding things on top of it, and then slowly phase out like number 4 and 3, because I named them awkwardly. Yeah, that's the way that I would do it. Okay. Yep. Awesome. But yeah, like we were both saying, right? Like great progression between like all these pieces. We can really tell that you're trying to like push yourself to the next level. And the levels that you're pushing towards are like really, really good. So keep on doing that, and you're gonna find a place at some point. Any final words for Daniel and Angelo?
Yeah, I mean, great progression. Yeah, the fact that we went through like all of this through just 2 years is yeah, amazing, and just keep it up.
Yep. Yeah, because one of the things that we're not seeing is all the experimentation, right? And I know how big my project graveyard is. We're usually just seeing the tip of the iceberg, you know, and then like all the bodies are just like buried downstairs. So yeah, keep it up, keep experimenting, and keep pushing yourself, Daniel. Awesome. All right, before we move over to Sophia, there were a couple of things. So in Twitch chat, Sisianet is saying, Tim, you need to update the page. It says former senior environment. Oh, yeah. I haven't looked at Twitch for a
Ooh.
while. Let me do that. And then we had a couple of people chiming in as well. Sorry for the delay on the questions, but oh my god. Para? Okay. Hey guys, I've been studying Blender and Unreal for 6 months now, and for my final project, I need to create an interior or exterior scene. I have 6 months between classes to complete it. I want to create something useful for my portfolio that is interesting but not too complicated considering my skills.
Diorama?
Interesting.
Interior diorama?
Should I go for like a realistic scene? Thanks. Interior diorama could be good. I think honestly that's a good shout, right? Because with exteriors you have to think about a lot more than just like the stuff that you're trying to sell. It's like, oh, now we have to deal with landscapes and foliage and geology and like all that kind of stuff.
Guys, clouds.
Yeah, oh my god, I wasn't even thinking about like the sky and the clouds yet. So let's keep it really simple. Just do an interior scene. And another thing, it doesn't really matter if you go like realistic or stylized. It just depends on what you're most interested in, or if you have already done work before in a particular style. Because we honestly, like, we're just looking at a name here, right? So we don't have any context. But yeah, if there's like a style that interests you, I would follow that. And then finally, from my side, what I would say is follow a concept. Like, straight up.
Oh,
like, don't
yes,
try to
please.
design like anything yourself. Just follow a concept. Make it so much easier for yourself.
Literally just type in on Pinterest like stylized or like realistic environment diorama. You can add some extra keywords like if you want a specific theme, let's say Japan or dungeon. And just try finding a concept that you enjoy and you think it would be manageable. Like, I wouldn't go necessarily for like the super noisy and like interesting and overwhelming ones, because if you're like, as you said, time limited and you wanna have something for your portfolio, I'd say find something that has fewer props and then you just crank the quality on these and like spend as much time as you got on like a couple of props instead of like having to make 200 props.
Yeah, 100%. Like, quality over quantity, right? That's what it always comes down to. Also, you've been studying Blender and Unreal for 6 months now. That is like very early on in like the journey towards like becoming a professional artist, right? So make sure to take all the tips in mind, like what we've been saying. Like, keep it super small, focus on things that already exist. Pick a style that you pick a style that resonates with you, right? Don't make it too hard for yourself, because there's already going to be like a lot of struggles on the way of just making it look good in the end. And you don't, I mean, you have 6 months between classes. I don't know if that means like after class or like in the evenings, because might sound like a lot of time, but it's not.
Yeah, not necessarily too much time. Yeah.
Don't underestimate that. And then the last question here. Oh no, Aditi was saying that the coincidence is I actually came across a post on LinkedIn about a certain way that companies filter out candidates based on certain keywords, which is pretty scary for someone looking for new roles. Not necessarily, honestly, because it always worked that way. Like, that was already a thing when I was looking for like my first job in the industry. But again, like I don't know too many companies that kind of filter for those keywords, and who knows what they might be looking for, and who knows what they might change it up with. It's really hard to tell. What I would always say is, like Angelo was saying, right? Like name your responsibilities, say what you're really good at, and let your portfolio reflect that as well. And then that's all you can do. Like if a company starts putting like keyword filters on like your CVs, there's nothing that you can do to stop it, because as soon as it's out, they'll probably like change it up anyway. Yeah. So it's kind of a weird practice to me in general, but like I said, I haven't really had too many encounters with that. And then I submitted my portfolio a couple of streams back. Any way to see how long the queue is? Yes. Let me share the link again. I'll add it in here, and you can check that link out. Now.
Yeah.
Sorry, you were gonna say something.
Oh no, I was gonna say that the website has like an actual date for like when the next stream is gonna be.
Yeah,
So
I
you
think
can,
the current one, is still set to today, I think. But let's actually have a quick
How
check.
could you?
How dare you? Oh, it actually says June 11th. No. It's actually today. Never mind. Something to fix. What did you say? Is asking a question before we then move on to Sophia. I had a question. How did you create the scene at the entrance to the city with a winding path and a cart? A lot of blood, sweat, and tears. That's how I created that scene. That's a pretty broad question, right? But Blender, Substance Painter, Unreal, yeah, that's how I created it. So I don't.
No Maya.
No, no Maya. No. It's been ages since I used that.
Disgusting.
I've used all the programs, man. Used them all. Well, it's not true. Maybe not SketchUp or something like that in a professional quality, but hey. Cool. Sophia, let's have a look. So Sophia is a 2D and 3D freelance artist. Okay. So already a lot to talk about. This kind of comes back to like a point that we made earlier, right? Is you have to specialize. When you're doing 2D and 3D, you're also spreading yourself like way too thin when it comes to the skills that you want to learn. So it's better to focus on one and dedicate a whole bunch of time rather than trying to do everything. What do you think, Angelo?
Yeah, I mean, I'm also reading through Sophia's description saying like she's been working on environments for both various smaller indie dev projects in both 2D and 3D. So I don't want to be too absolute. I like say just pick one of them. But
Okay.
if you want to do both, maybe like be very clear with yourself and like what like pick like a niche in terms of like the style you're going for. Like try to bring 2D and 3D kind of together, or like use them in ways that complement each other. So let's say you pick up a specific art style and you do some 2D texturing on a specific style, and then you're using 3D on the same kind of mindset. Just so you can use both of the skill sets and showcase that you can do 2D. Let's say you can do like 2D sprites, but also you might be able to use 3D to make those sprites faster. I know it's just a bit tricky because
it's always going to be tricky and personal, right? I think what
Yeah.
it comes down to for me is the stuff that we said before, right? Like clients and companies want to hire you for a skill. If you're just going to throw like everything on the table, they are not going to make a decision based on that. Because honestly, just looking at the time that you can invest in like all your skills that you need to learn when it comes to the spectrum of 2D and 3D, there's going to be an overlap, right? But there's going to be specialized stuff in there as well, where if you want to get good at one thing, you'll have to level this up, and that means that you're not spending it over here where it could be 3D, right?
Yes.
So that's the thing. Like you can become like pretty good at both of them, but that's going to take you like double the amount of time where it would take you to just be good at one of them instead. And I don't know what position you are in. You're a freelancer right now. That means that for you, that is like directly linked to the clients that get to talk to you and the projects that you get to work on, right? So that doesn't mean that you can't have like, hey, I can also do 2D, but my main skill is 3D, or the opposite way, right? Where like my main skill is 2D and my side skill is like 3D. Um, that can also work. I just wanna. I'm just imagining from like a client's perspective that I always want to see what we should hire you for, rather just than seeing the whole menu and not being able to, right?
Yeah, exactly. The rest of the stuff that you are making would be a bonus, if anything.
Exactly. Yeah. Let's see.
I mean, I see some concept and like some thumbnails. So should we just quickly go through the first couple of bits? They seem like fairly quick and like sketchy, anyways. So, see, the first one is something that, like, if you were a storyboard artist or like a keyframe, how is it called? Key art artist.
Mm-hmm.
Like
It has so
something
many
I would
names,
love
yeah.
to see. Yes. So
Mhm.
like just compositions and like focusing on the like just values and like just telling a story through like a super rough sketch. But I don't think that would be like something like just six of those sketches would be something that you want to showcase.
Yeah.
Maybe
This is
that
not
would be the
something that's like worth it for like the client, right?
yeah, maybe that would be the first part, you know, and like
Yeah.
above you showcase like the final environment that you did all the painting for.
Yeah. I 100% agree. Yeah. This is the start of a project, not the end. And whenever you put it on your portfolio, like that feels like, look, this is the best that I can do when it comes to my skill set. And I feel like, yeah, this is just not good enough. In terms of just like what a finished project for like a client could be, right? Um, so yeah,
Yeah, and
I could.
like that keyword, sorry, that you said in the like at the very end, like the value for the client is so important, especially as a freelancer, right?
Yeah,
So as a client, I might need someone to do those rough sketches. I want to see like more of them, or like some like with a higher quality, perhaps, because some of them are like very rough looking. I can see some things in a few of them, like I can see the character a bit more detailed. I can see the castles a bit more defined, but some, yeah, half of them are like super basic, and like
yeah.
couldn't imagine like that would take you more than like a couple of minutes of work, right?
Hmm.
If it was part of a study, let's say you drew like 100 of these in a day or two, maybe that would make sense, but then I would perhaps have them in a blog post or somewhere else or a personal website.
Yeah, I think honestly, you were kind of laughing with it, right? But I think that's the reality of a concept artist, right? In the industry, this is like a couple of minutes of work. Maybe like let's say half an hour max, right? And they're doing like a ton of these a day because at this
Yes.
stage, what the client or the art director or whatever your job is, right? What they want to see is volume. They don't want to see, and they're looking for ideas, right? They're not looking for like necessarily like a nice final thing yet. They're looking for ideation. Um, and if you look at like any concept artist that shares their work online, you're gonna see pages and pages and pages of this stuff, right? Um, so yeah, again, like I know that we're very like brutal and honest here, but like it is a very intense industry, right? I know that you currently have like freelance jobs. But what we're aiming for is that you can be like at a comfortable position that a lot of companies are going to come to you and they want you for like specific jobs and that you have to like send them away, right? That's like sort of the end goal with this sort of stuff. So you got to present your best self. Because yeah, being a
Hmm.
concept artist is intense, and I mean,
I don't
there's
know
a
how they're
bunch of
doing it.
yeah, there's a bunch of really good ones out there. And I've worked with some really, really talented concept artists. And I wanted to become a concept artist myself as well. Um, but I just knew that the pressure of it and like the intensity of it, like, yeah, that's something that is crazy.
you,
But
you
yeah,
know what I'm saying, Tim? Yeah, it's just a skill
okay.
issue. Just get
Oh,
better, you know.
oh, dang. Okay, okay. Shit. Yeah, I'll just switch, just to out of spite. I'll become a senior concept artist just next week, just like. Let's have a look though. So that was it about the sketches. I felt like we went really hard into the sketches, but
Yeah, we
yeah.
got way too many more things, and like I'm seeing some cool stuff
But it is,
right
it
after.
is.
So
Yeah, I'm sure that there's going to be cool stuff that's coming up, right? But I think there's a lot of value in like us like really digging into that stuff because what we just did was basically talk about the stuff that clients or studios think about in the first 5 minutes. And they'll go through like the same sort of like thinking process and they'll be like, oh, what are these sketches doing here? Now we'll probably go to someone else. Like,
yeah,
and
it's
honestly, like, it's cutthroat, that's the unfortunate thing of it.
yeah, and at the end of the day, like your weakest piece is gonna define the quality bar of your portfolio. So
Yep, exactly. Let's see. So we're moving on to the next one. This is from 6 years ago. When was the other one? Oh, and it's from last year. Okay. Cool. Yeah, this is an interesting thing, right? Like the bottom of this page where you're combining your 2D skills with your 3D skills, like that is great. And you could like
yes,
really, really delve into that, right? There's one of the people that I worked with, and I just absolutely love that I worked with her was Elodie Mondoloni. I'll see if I can like share her art station real quick. I don't know if you have her art station, Angelo, by any chance, that you can link in the chat.
yes. Give me 1 second.
That
Definitely
would be
seen her
awesome.
work.
Because she does a really good job of building 3D and then painting on top of it, right? And it kind of has like a really nice mixture of the two, like built into her work. But that obviously is going to take time to build that skill up, right? But you can do that. You have like a unique background that you can like infuse into your work in the same way. Yeah. This scene is okay. Like it's a nice diorama. I feel like this was 6 years ago. I feel like you have like a way better understanding on how to draw people's attention, pull focus towards something, like tell a bit of a better story. Because if we're just looking at it from like a very concept art perspective, right, where we're looking at the values and the colors that are being used, like everything is like a bit monotonous, right? It's kind of samey across the board. So that could be something to work on here. And then
Yeah, in terms of lighting as well, I see some very dark spots where like you lose all of the information, and some of the god rays are like a bit odd placed. Like it feels like half of the window is casting like that light beam and not like all of it. So yeah, as Tim said, yeah, some better focus on the lighting and like what you want to showcase.
Yep, exactly. I'll drop the portfolio from Elodie as well.
Wait,
Yeah, 100% agree.
I dropped it as well.
Oh really? It was not coming up in my chat.
Huh?
Weird.
Did you ban me already?
I'm no. That's weird, man. I'm still trying to understand like this whole like YouTube chat thing, but anyway, people got it twice now, so. Cool. Let's move on to the next item on the list. Ghibli inspired landscape. Recreate a Ghibli-esque landscape using Blender. All the textures are handmade and touched up in Clip Studio. 4 hours spent on this. Okay. Cool.
Yeah, I mean, it's looking impressive for like 4 hours. But yeah, we had that whole discussion about mentioning how much time this took, like anything took
Yeah.
last time. So,
Yeah, you can like really increase the amount of hours if you want to build those like trees as 3D. Like because now they're just billboards, right? Which for this single camera, if you're just doing like I don't know, like a YouTube background or whatever, right? Works fine. But if you're making a game, those trees need to be 3D, and that's gonna add like a whole bunch of stuff to like the timeline, right? Like you're saying, overall, I kind of like it. It has like very peaceful vibes. I kind of feel when it comes to the actual usability of it, again, where we're trying to look at like the value that we're offering towards like the clients or the studios, right? There is not too much here. I think the value that you could bring is that you know how to hand paint textures, right? But the textures aren't too complicated. And that you can also like compose a scene, but there's nothing too challenging about the composition of the scene, right? Um, so yeah, maybe really try to like reframe the project that you're building towards like, hey, what do people in the industry need? Because that's what they're gonna come look for, right? Whereas this is more, in my opinion, just like targeting like I don't know, this would be perfect for like a lo-fi mix on YouTube or something like that, right? Where you see like the
yeah.
clouds just like slowly passing away, like your wind just going through the whole thing. It would be perfect for that. But for any other application, it's really limited in like its usability, right?
And I
Um,
just want to say, I love how, like, by reviewing two freelancers in a row, we just became all about shareholder value. We need to maximize that.
But honestly, like I feel like a lot of this can be brought down, right? Like even if you're not a freelancer, like that is still the way that I wanna help people think.
Yeah,
Because if
that's true.
you're applying to a company, you're doing the same thing. It's just not for you, but it's for them, right? So the way that you bring value is by leveling up your skills to a point where you're where you can actually apply and then bring that value into a company. So it's like a lot of shared messages there as well. But it's like this weird frame of thinking, right? Because then it's like, oh, I'm not doing this for myself anymore. I'm doing this for the company. Then what's the point? But it's like finding the balance between the two is where
Yeah.
you're actually gonna have. That's where you become an artist, right? And you get to decide like, hey, I lean more towards like AAA development, or like, hey, AAA development is not for me because I want to focus on like these style of graphics. Then you're gonna choose like a different balance between the two.
Yeah, totally.
Um, Helena wants us to go back into the question. So she's asking, do you think it's beneficial to mention how much time you spend on, for example, an environment on your portfolio pieces? Um, we talked about this in the last portfolio review. I think the consensus was no. I don't think there's like any benefit to it because what it does is it's also like let's say 4 hours spent on this, then immediately in my head and probably like a lot of other people's heads, it's gonna be like, oh, well, why didn't you spend like 8 hours on it to make it better than it already is? Right? It's like I don't know. There's always like a weird feeling when it comes to like, oh, I only spend like 4 hours on this or something like that. There's I don't know. A lot of assumptions can be made there. So I don't think it's beneficial.
Yeah.
Let's go through some of the other ones. So we got game art speed paint. It's been a long time since I've seen speed paint. Oh my god. Let's see. Game project where I created the environment visualization. Okay. That is cool. Just have a quick look here. Oh, so here's you doing like the paint itself. Okay.
Hmm.
Again, it's one of those things where I'm really doubting like what the value here is because from just looking at the previous work, like I know that you can do better than this. Right? So I'm kind of trying to ask the question like, what was the point of this? Like, it feels more like fun than actual professional portfolio at this point.
Yeah, I mean, it could make sense, like if you're targeting, let's say, like mobile 2D games that have this art style and like camera angle, but again, that's getting too specific, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like, yeah, that's honestly like the issue with like really specific art styles is that the more niche you go, the more niche your client base is going to become as well, right?
And then I'd say at that point, if you're actually targeting that, your whole portfolio should be aimed towards that and not just one piece, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, let's see what else is in there. So posted last year as well. A small game project going over the course of 5 weeks from idea development to finished demo. Wait, but where's... Oh, more pictures coming soon. Oh. I mean, this was posted last year, so I think we're not going to see more pictures. Because this is interesting, right? Like, there's interesting stuff happening here. Like, a game jam.
I love the art
really,
style, yeah.
Yeah, it's really like an interesting experience that can add a lot of value to, like, if you want to become a part of a game studio, right? Like, game jams are really valuable. But then we're only seeing the one image, and it's like, oh, but you're telling me that there's a whole game behind this. I want to see the game, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Just give us like a full composition or like some game screenshots.
Yeah.
Perhaps you also did some UI elements. Usually, like, yeah, the same artist, especially in game jams, he's doing all of the art. Speaking from experience, done some questionable UI stuff. But yeah, like, just show us the whole thing if you have it.
Yep.
Because yeah, the art style looks lovely, but it's just like a very limited context situation now, so I can't really say more than that.
Okay, now we're getting into like the game art with this Viking axe, right? Honestly, pretty good. You know, for what I assume to be like your first baked prop as well, right? Pretty good. Yeah. I would say that, like, there's a lot that you can do with like the geometry, right? Like, make it like nice and smooth, especially when it comes to curves. Also, if you're using a high poly and baking that down onto a low poly, which, do you have a look? I think it is, because I can't see like any like double edges here. So I'm assuming it's actually baked down. You have to make your bevels of your high poly just like a little bit bigger, because these are gonna disappear like quite quickly. Even on the screen in front of me, where like I have like a thumbnail view, like I can barely make out the edges. And that's the whole point of why we bake things down and have like a normal map, right? To like capture the highlights of like lights shining on it. Yeah. Any quick thoughts on this guy?
See, I'm a bit unsure as to whether this is actually a low poly, because I see, like, if you scroll all the way down, we got some breakdown, and I'm a bit concerned that this is actually like a mid poly situation.
Yeah, I don't think so, because you can kind of see that like the top of the axe, right, doesn't have like any bevels on it. So I don't think it's mid poly. I think honestly, where like a lot of the geo is coming from is that she forgot to optimize like the string that's on the top of the handle, because that looks really dense compared to like all the rest of it. Yeah.
But
Thomas
yeah,
is
like
saying,
the text.
sorry, like Thomas is saying, don't be afraid of triangles as well. Yeah, that's a good point, especially when you want to optimize something, right?
I mean, that's another topic that's a whole lot of discussion, because I would say don't be afraid of triangles. Yes, that's very true, and like I use triangles almost every time whenever I'm doing like a retop of something. But like, depending on your skill level, I would say avoid them in the beginning, and like only start using them as soon as you get comfortable with just optimizing a bit more, or like when you actually need to be aggressive with optimizing.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, because triangles just make a prop just more confusing and like harder to handle than it needs to be. So yeah, that's a good shout though. Let's have a look. Got a blade as well.
Oh, nice.
Design is also by me. So see, this is where we're getting glimpses of like how you can combine the two in like an effective way, right? Where especially on a prop, like this is so good. Like where you have a prop that you design yourself and then you can potentially put that in like an environment that is not designed by you, right? Because the reason why I don't want you to design like the whole environment is that you can save a lot of time and just focus on the thing that makes you stand out, right? Um so this is a good use case, right? Where you design the thing that's going to be standing out. And I know that you had a bigger environment behind this at a certain point. If you're still planning to do like a little bit of an environment, try to do that with megascans or something like that, and integrate the prop into it. Depending on the style, of course, but this looks like a little bit more realistic, so that could work.
Yeah, there is like a render at the very bottom.
Oh, okay.
The environment.
Oh, okay. I'm gonna let you do the talking on that one because I think you have some pointers.
Yeah, it's about lighting. Surprise, surprise. Yeah, I would just rotate that sun, that direction light, so that it points to the actual blade, and that's about it. It's gonna make it much more readable. It's gonna highlight your prop, which you worked so hard for, and yeah.
Yep.
Like the rest of the background looks very interesting. Like you got some nice painting on the walls. You could use some more like localized light to showcase that, and then yeah, I really like that the foreground is in the shadow. So like keep that definitely. And yeah, because it adds more depth to like the scene. And yeah, just move the main light around just so you can accidentally have it looking at the actual prop that you want to showcase. And I think that's gonna make it instantly better.
Yeah.
With
100%.
so little effort. Yeah, you went all the way with everything else, and it feels like
exactly. That's how
just
I
a wasted
feel.
opportunity.
Yeah. It's such a shame when I see this because it's like it's right there. You know, you've made a beautiful prompt. You just have to like show it off like a little bit, right? And like the opportunity is right there.
And you had the idea to like have a like invisible wall on that side just so you can create like a more defined shadow, right? You could also have it like a tree casting some like soft shadows, some leaves.
Ooh.
Just if you don't wanna like have it just a flat shadow, you can just have a more noisy one. But again, it's gonna depend on the case, on the context.
Yeah. And then what I would do for the presentation in general, right? If I'm thinking about like the design of my portfolio, right? I would have like the main piece, like the showcase. I would have that all the way up top, right? With like the rotated light and like all the tips that Angelo said. And then have like a breakdown or like a showcase, like a close up of the actual sword. And then we could go into like the breakdowns where you have like maybe the sword on like the floor where you can kind of see like the wireframe on top of it and like a texture breakdown next to it or something like that, right? In a nice one page like document. And then you just put like the designs that you have here like below that as well. So that you get like a nice condensed page instead of like these four like pretty boring images, right? Like use those like concept art skills, like make it like again sell it to the client, right? Like sell it to us in this case, like make it feel like you're really interested in your art and that this is the way that you want to show it off, right? Because that is what a portfolio is, right? You're just trying to showcase your art in like the best way that you can. So yeah, there's definitely opportunities here. Like, just need to grab them. Let's see. Cairo's in the chat as well. He says, "Cool shirt, Tim. Thanks, Cairo. Appreciate it." And then Thomas is saying this is about like the triangle conversation. Is I guess you have to know how to use them before you can use them. Yeah.
Exactly. Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's what I was saying.
And then let's see. Oh, what else is there? We're probably gonna skip through like a couple of these. So Japanese storefront for like the solo challenge that we did. Um, Pretty interesting. This is longer than 3 months ago, though, right? But yeah, it's
I
designed
don't
by
remember.
you. I would probably not do a design by yourself. Um, Again, it's one of those weird things where I don't know if this is supposed to be like a showcase for 2D or 3D, and it's kind of like I don't know where it's gonna end up. Um,
I mean,
let's
I like the fact that you used like 3D to just have a quick like perspective version of like the 2D images, and then you probably do paint overs. But
yeah.
yeah, it's like is the main like is your main focus to showcase the 3D skills, and then the 2D is just the shortcut? No, the other way around. Sorry. Like, are you
Mm,
just speeding up your 2D workflow by using 3D, or do you want to showcase the 3D, your
yeah,
3D skill set? So yeah.
yeah. And then we have the next one here, character designs. This actually looks like really good. Like just in terms of like the base structure, and then also like the way that you handled like the proportions, the shapes, and like the colors and the textures and all that kind of stuff looks really good. Um, which then brings me back to this one, and I'm like, well, they're posted on the same month, right? But I feel like
Yeah.
they're so far apart quality wise, where it just has me like confused a little bit because I feel like this is almost like the work of a different person. I don't know how you feel about that, Angelo.
Yeah, no, totally. I don't know. Especially since you don't have any other like character designs before that. I'm like,
Yeah,
I
let's
mean,
have a
that's
look.
amazing, but yeah, just I think I'd like some more breakdowns for that post, just so we can understand like how you got to that point, right?
Yeah,
Like we got some sketches, maybe some flat colors, and then like you just make a video, a GIF animation showcasing like different layers. So, oh yeah, I added some ambient occlusion here in this pass. I added some highlights. I added some localized lighting, or yeah, the hair highlights, for example.
yeah, yeah. This is interesting.
But yeah, it's very not weird, but let's say odd that there's
Yeah,
so
that's
much inconsistency in terms of like
that's
the
what I mean with
theme.
interesting, right? It's like we're seeing like a varied range of like skill set and topics, and like it feels just like really chaotic at the moment. Because then the next thing as well is we're looking at this voxel bunny, which then is like, okay, that looks like a fun thing to play around with on my free time, right? But this is not professional. It's so weird.
I mean, yeah, I
So I
know
think,
two games that are using voxel graphics, so you're limiting yourself way too much if
yeah.
that's
And don't get me
what
wrong,
you're.
like I like voxel graphics as well, right? And I think it's a fun sandbox to play around with because it's almost like digital Lego, right? You can just build something out of like simple
Yeah, or
cubes.
like 3D pixel art.
Yeah, exactly. But it's like you then put that on your portfolio and it just like it just has me feeling that you have like fun confused with portfolio. Where there's like there should be like a clear separation between the two where you can put the fun stuff on like your blog or something like that and then have your portfolio purely be like the professional work and your best looking work. Um and that's how you're gonna like build yourself up like for the future as well. And I feel like there's a lot of confusion happening at this point. Not only in like the pipelines and the topics and the workflows used, but also just like yeah, I mean basically the topics, right? Like, do I go 2D? Do I go 3D? Do I build houses? Do I make characters? Do I make this? Um, I think it would be really interesting for you to really think about like what you want to do, and then see what are some of like the portfolios that you can find that are like closely related to the thing that you want to do so that you can kind of have like a benchmark for yourself And then all the other stuff that you have fun with, like the bunny or whatever it is, right? You can. I'm not saying that you shouldn't do those, but do them on your free time, and potentially depending on how quick you want to get a job, like professionally or like build up your client base, you'll have to focus on the professional side first before you can do the fun stuff on the side as well. Yeah. Anything to add there, Angelo? Kind of went on a
No, I
tangent there.
think
But...
I think you like summed up my thoughts as well. So
yeah, let's do a quick little recap then. I think honestly, that's also the first thing that I want to bring up, right? Is like,
yeah,
what do you want to do, right?
yeah, focus basically. Because
Yeah,
you're
exactly.
spreading yourself too thin with like all those different directions.
And this is purely like again, I want to emphasize this, right? Like we're doing this talk because we have the intent of helping people in the industry or getting like more clients or whatever you're looking for, right? If your focus is pure fun and you just want to make art and you don't care about the money because you have like something else lined up, that's fine, right? But yeah, for getting more jobs and like getting into the industry, like we need to have like some sort of focus. Is there even? It feels a weird one, but do you have like a second thing that you want to bring up?
I mean, we could bring up the good old breakdowns and yeah, just showcasing how like you're making those things that you're making. For example, with the second, like the diorama environment that had like a lots of breakdowns, like even down to the like what kind of assets you're gonna have or like the base colors of the scenes and like some textures. So, but yeah, but then on other ones, like for the game jam environment, we have basically one screenshot and we didn't see any other anything else from that game. So yeah, some inconsistency on like the amount of extra information and breakdown.
It's a missed opportunity again, right? Which we said like a couple times when looking through this. It's like, oh, there's like stuff that you can do with it, but it's not coming through to the work. For example, with the blade, right? Where like you
Yes.
have the environment, it's just like presenting it like nicely. Yeah, so we had focus, then we had like the making game art and like the presentation side of things. Yeah.
And maybe for like the last one, some like more catering towards the game art side of things.
Yeah.
So like some production art. Like some of them are like game ready from the looks of it, but yeah. Maybe just keep those ones for now. Or like at least till you decide like what you wanna focus on, right?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
the
that's what I
bunny,
was
for
gonna
example. I
say.
don't even know if you would consider it game art, right?
No.
I don't exactly know the workflows.
Well, this is the thing, right? Like if you can make something in like a voxel editor, like anyone can do that. Like literally anyone, right? And that's usually the thing where it's like, okay, if you have a lot of fun in that realm, let's say, not talking about like this person in specific, but like if you wanna become like a voxel character creator, right? And not even talking about like the animating and the rigging and all that stuff, but just like making the characters, that's a lot of competition because a lot of people are doing that. That's also why it's not sustainable for like most of the people that do it, because there's so many other people that do it anyway. It's like the more the technical skills that you build up, and like the deeper you dive into like your niche, like the more valuable you're gonna become, right? And the more sought after you're gonna become. So yeah, like point 3 is like, what is production art and what do you want to focus on, right? And to me, like, is that the point or is it fun? Like I'll add that to like number 3 because I'm honestly just like really confused sometimes with like what you're trying to achieve with having the portfolio here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't really
It's
like.
pretty
Yeah, it would be
harsh,
nice. No,
but
I mean it
yeah.
would be nice to like have you in the chat and like see could give us some more context.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, I think that's actually a thing that we need to introduce next time, maybe, because now we just have like the portfolio, And I think some people post context, but we don't really make use of it. So let's try to include that next time, actually. Hi, Fiona. Good to see you here. We got round 1 and Bulborb as well. Lovely to see you all. But yeah, this is it's such a bummer, right? Because like what we don't try to do is try to persuade people from not trying to become like a game artist, right? I would love to work with like any of you. It's just this industry is also harsh, right? And it's really competitive. And if you then are still indecisive of what you want to do, like it's gonna make it even harder to get like a job or like clients or anything like that.
Yeah, the client won't have a like second think their opinion. Like they're gonna decide within 5 seconds of looking at your portfolio. So
Yeah, that's the thing, right? Because we're pretty harsh vocally, but like the clients are even harsher by just like ignoring you. Right? They're just like a couple of seconds, not there yet. Okay, move on. Ah.
and like even if you have an amazing portfolio, right? And even if you have experience, you might still not get that job because it's not what the client needs. So
Yeah.
you can never really know. Maybe they're looking like a very specific thing and you don't have it, and there's no way for you to know it. So yeah, it's basically just maximizing your chances of success.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. Okay. I'm gonna add a thing here where like if there's any more questions, feel free to reach out to any of us if we can help a little bit more. We would love to help. But yeah, best of luck in the future. And I think it's time for us to move on to the next person then. So let's have a look here. Next person is Glenn, freelance environment artist. We're dealing with
3
a
in a
lot of
row.
freelancers today. Dang. Hey Coleman, good to see you here. What's up? What's up? Let's see. So, my name is Roberto Glenn Ortiz Cisneros. Oh God. But I simply go by Glenn. Yeah, you should have said that at the beginning. Dang it. Let's see. Studied game science. Quickly went from like an interest to a hobby. Oh, enrolled in Vertex School. Okay. Know a couple of people that went to that. Work with a couple of people that went to that as well. Currently, I'm a freelance environment artist looking to grow my skill and expand my skills within the industry. Nice. Okay, so environment artist makes it pretty easy for us because we already have like a dedicated focus now, right? So that is awesome. I also already like what I'm seeing here. I feel like the quality, just looking at the thumbnails, is already like really good. So do you wanna pick one? Like which one we
Ooh,
shall start
can
with?
we go with the San Francisco street with the like the exterior one with the like warm windows? I
Oh,
think
of
that's like
course.
I mean, man, you know, I'm a lighting artist. I'm gonna go with the most interesting lighting. And yeah, like having a quick look around, I think I think you nailed the mood. So like if you're going for like a night situation with some warm lighting to add that visual contrast, I think that's like perfectly made. Because what you usually get with like night scenes is that people tend to think, oh yeah, it's night, so it's gonna be dark, so you're not gonna be able to see anything, and then you automatically just degrade your scene quality. I see that all the time, even with horror games, and like that's a pet peeve of mine. Like
Yeah.
you can make night visible and still like just add it to the horror factor or whatever you want to convey, but you can still have things being clear and like defined in terms of lighting. And that's like a perfect example. You get some nice rim with the trees, like using the warm window, like warm light coming from the windows. You can have like a focus area, and like that's where my eye immediately goes to. Yeah. Yeah, if I scroll a bit down, like I can see the modular pieces, which is great to see. Some more scene breakdowns and like some progression gifs, which is just amazing.
Always tasty. Yeah, and just showcasing what you did for the project as well. It's pretty well done. Like the blueprint here, pretty cool. I think the only thing that I'm kind of missing is I kind of want to see like the functionality of it, right? Where you kind of like go through some of the options. If this is like a really simple thing where you're just like randomizing it by like clicking on it or whatever, that's fine. You don't have to do it then. But if there's anything like more fancy to it, like please show that off because that's always gonna be like nicely to present. Let's have a look. We got the tree here. On the tree, I gotta be honest, like they work in the scene, right? Like in the scene, I have no real issues. But like as like a separate thing that you do like a separate call out of, like we can really see that it's just like pretty basic. But again, like it does the job in the environment, so I don't really mind it. But I just wonder if it's like worth showcasing individually, like in the post itself.
Yeah, that's true.
But yeah, I mean,
Like same with the
trees are
bushes,
difficult.
I guess. Oh yeah, I have never made a proper tree in my life. See, I did stylized trees.
Oh, okay, yeah. The hacky way.
No, it was artistic,
Oh,
You
yeah.
don't understand, yeah. You can do your realistic trees and spend like a year of your time.
Yeah. No. I'm done. I'll do stylized if it means like saving an hour of my like a year of my life. No, but you were gonna say the bushes as well.
Oh yeah, there seem to be like using a similar approach. So like, if you wanna showcase the foliage, might as well do like every foliage. Like you got some fallen leaves as well on the street, as far as I can tell. So like maybe you just combine all of the foliage, maybe add some flowers here and there, just to get some more variation.
Yeah.
And then maybe that would be worth to have in one like a call out seed.
Yeah, again, I think it's one of those things where I wouldn't mind if it wasn't there, right? Like specifically this one, right? I don't
Yeah.
mind it when it's like in like the overview of like everything.
Oh yeah,
I don't mind it there.
Didn't realize that, but yeah.
Yeah, I think that's fine. There's only one thing that stands out to me, and I'm wondering if it's like a lack of like reference on my end, but like the tiles on the floor of like the pavement, they're like huge.
Ooh, yes.
But again, maybe that's one of those weird things where that's actually how big they are, and it just looks like weird because I've never been to like San Francisco, right? But just from like a European standpoint, like this looks like way out of proportion. It looks like really weird.
Yeah, they were saying that everything is bigger in the US, but I don't know if that's the case for everything, right?
Yeah, I didn't realize that it was also like the tiles on the floor.
Yeah.
No, but like this is awesome. I like how like soft the light is, right? Like it has like a very soft, like almost dreamy like quality to it, which is like quite nice. No, this is good. Let's go back to the main page. Let's have a look at some of the other stuff. Let me go the complete opposite way, and we're looking at this like abandoned like Last of Us house next. This is cool. Really cool shot. Like the roughness variation on the floor in like the first shot, like just breaking it up with all the debris. Works really well. Some good stuff going on. Again, like pretty clean presentation, right? Like you kind of have like all the necessities on there, which is pretty good. It would be nice to kind of see. This is going to be trickier for an environment like this, but like pick an asset and then do like a wireframe and texture breakdown, all that kind of stuff. Because I don't think we have one of those here. Like maybe the chair, right? Because the chair looks like nice and detailed. Might as well just like use that as like an example of it.
And like if you notice where like the chair is placed on the environment, it could actually use as a very nice key shot. Like you just highlight the chair and you just have it as your hero asset. as
Yeah,
well.
yeah. Yeah, but this looks
I'm
really
curious
nice.
to hear your opinion on the materials slash mainly texturing, because like I scrolled down a bit and like started going through the just lighting views, like
Mhm.
debug views, and like on that view everything feels like it's absolutely realistic, and like lighting is like nailed. I get like enough occlusion, but I'm still able to see everything, and everything looks clearly defined, at least on the modeling side of things. But
Mhm.
then when I scroll up, I still get, even though it's like a great environment, I still get that gamey look. So I'm curious to hear your opinion, like on to whether where's that's coming from, right? Is that the texturing? Is that maybe like the post processing that's liking some things?
Yeah, that's a good question actually. Trying to compare the two.
Like
Maybe
something that
post
come to
then,
mind?
right? Like
Yeah,
what I'm thinking about,
like
because the texturing, most of it, well, let's see. So texturing all the architectural kits, the furniture and the wall ornaments, and then use megascans for the assets and set dressing. So I'm assuming no, so most of the environment is like textured by them then. So I would assume like it's just post processing, right? Just like the final tweaks where you can add like a little bit of like what is it, like a color tone, like a specific like cinematic or like filmic color tone on it.
mm,
Um, but yeah, I'm not the best at that either, so that's probably more in your wheelhouse anyway.
yeah, I'd say like maybe it's just not enough color grading. So like yeah, or not. I mean, you probably used yeah, it's in Unreal, so it's gonna be using by default the AC Stone mapper, so that's covered. Maybe some like camera imperfections. Let's say like it's already a dirty scene. Just try to use like
Mm,
some not necessarily like lens flare in a like the Michael Bay way, but you know some glare, some like vignetting or like some depth of field. So like try playing around with the cinematic camera instead of
yep.
the standard one, just to make it a bit more imperfect and like less out like some of the things could be out of focus, so just ever so slightly. Some like chromatic aberration. Again, don't make it look sci-fi or anything,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
but very tastefully in like the very edges, just so you can get that filmic effect. Some grain,
Yep.
perhaps, like things like that.
Yep. Cairo in the chat is also saying that the albedo seems quite saturated for such a derelict place as well.
Oh yeah, maybe that's what
Yeah,
I was thinking. Yeah, that's a good
maybe that could
catch.
be throwing us off as well. A good point. Yeah, but overall, like, really nice scene though. Learning new skills, sharpening my 3D workflow. Yeah, cool stuff. Yeah, really nice. Let's have a quick look at like the video here as well. Refuses to go in full screen. Okay, thanks for that. Okay. Yeah, pretty simple. Simple, but it's effective, right? It kind of showcases
Yeah,
like the main shots as well. It doesn't need to be a lot, right, to sell something like this. So I'm
yeah,
not.
it's perfect duration as well. So like people are actually gonna watch that.
Oh, yeah,
It's not like a
important.
2-minute video. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, because you probably saw me already skip through it, and that's just like a habit that I have right now. Because it's like, okay, I've seen this shot, like next shot, next shot, next shot. Okay, I've seen them all. Cool. Yeah. I think I get so impatient. I can only imagine like if you're a recruiter and you're like looking at like hundreds, if not thousands, of like portfolios. Oh god. Yeah. No way that I'm like sitting through like a bunch of like videos, you know?
Yeah,
Um
nothing. I think this one has enough like specific shots and like breakdowns to be enough.
yes. Let's jump on to like the first one then. Like the bedroom.
Ooh, I think I've seen that around.
Because what I'm curious for is if they made like the assets themselves, right? Because we had like a project that was focused on like the architectural pieces, which is good, and like the lighting, of course, and all that stuff. But now I'm kind of curious if they did like most of the assets themselves, because then you're setting yourself up to be like a really well-rounded artist, right? So let's have a look. Use Blender for making the high and the low poly. For which is that? The main focus for the scene are the TV, the PlayStation console, and controllers. Also made the furniture, magazines, CDs, cans. Okay. Oh yeah, that's good. Oh, and like what was it? The was it 4 MB like memory card, or like, because I think
I think it was
PlayStation 2 had like,
8.
yeah,
Oh wait, yeah, that's PS1. Yes,
yeah,
I only
I don't
I only
know,
had the PS2. So
yeah. Oh, but that's good though. Like I like that. And like you rendered everything yourself, right? Oh, we got some nice close-up shots as well, which is awesome. We got this overview showcasing like 4K texture, 12K tries. I would be really curious to see the wireframe, but I'm assuming that you modeled in like a lot of the actual geometry because you are doing a close-up shot. So I don't
yeah,
mind it, honestly.
and see, I can see some like triangular use in the UVs. So I'm a bit leaning towards that this was nicely optimized. And it's
We've
like
got
around 10K for like a key asset. Oh, we got one. Oh.
we've got the Marmoset viewer, boys. Let's go. Yeah, so like it's getting nitpicky, right? Where like, do these holes really need to be geometry? You could probably bake them in, but
Ah.
honestly, like it's also not too dense where it's like, oh my god, this is gonna crash the engine, right? If we have to load this in. So I'm not gonna worry about it. Because it's like you said, right? Like there are opportunities where there is optimization happening, right? So like triangulating like all these edges, like it is like really clean and optimized in that way.
Yeah, or
So
underneath the controller if you go on the bottom part. This could have been much worse. So
yeah, yeah,
I'll give them a pass. Like there's no need to optimize it more. Like it's a portfolio piece, so
exactly.
can appreciate the
And
effort.
it's also, but Tim, the shadows from the Geo. Yeah, that's right. That's right. You don't get those like really nice shadows over here, right? Like, oh, those tasty shadows and those bevels, like the light catching on the bevels. Oh.
Mm. Yeah, honestly, I would also keep the geometry there, but only on the
That's the thing.
portfolio. Yeah, only on portfolio situation.
And to be honest, like it's to kind of clarify what we're trying to say here, right? That optimization is not necessarily about like the amount of triangles or faces that you use. It's about how you use them instead. So most of the people that are going to look at topology are going to do the same path that we just did, and it's like, okay, it's pretty dense here and there, but I can get why they did it, and then still see like, oh, there's like triangulation happening, so they managed to like optimize it by hand themselves, right? So that gives us an indication of you as a person thinking about like, okay, I don't need this edge here, so I'm going to condense it to make it like more optimal for the game engine. As long as that sort of like base thinking is there and the prop itself is not like crazy dense or like high in topology, that's all people would expect. Because the truth of the matter is that if you go into like an actual production environment, the way that you optimize is going to be different based on like what game you're playing, what like game you're making, and like the restrictions of the engine, all that kind of stuff, right? So just like a fundamental base knowledge of like, hey, I need to optimize my stuff, and then triangulating wherever I can. That's usually more than enough. Oh my god. He did the cables with splines.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I mean, I don't
Cool.
have anything like to add to that scene, to be honest, because yeah, you showcase technical knowledge, you showcase like
Yep.
good environment art skills, like prop making, set dressing, and storytelling. So yeah,
Yeah. This is an amazing piece. Like, yeah. This is great. Like you're saying, I got nothing more to add. Showcases everything that you kind of want to see, right? We got storytelling, we got set dressing, we've got the creation of unique props, we've got the creation of like more architectural props, right? We got tileable textures, unique textures. Everything is kind of condensed into this one scene, and it looks really nice, right? So yeah,
and
great
it's
work
like
on
yeah,
this one.
just a great example of something that would be like industry ready also to speak. So like pick a similar like kind of scene, like small corner in a room. If you want to make an interior, small corner like in an alleyway or like a storefront if you want to have it on an exterior, and just yeah hammer in the quality and like scale up the amount of props that you want to make depending on those on your skill set and time, and yeah just see what works for you.
Yep, 100%. I'm looking at some of the other pieces as well. So we got like the two materials from Substance. They look great. You know, like really nice presentation as well. Um, where you have like the presentation with like all the folds and it adds more to
Oh
it than just
yes.
like a sphere, right? Like it looks really nice. I would honestly probably bury the sphere like down at the bottom or something like that, or not even use it because these renders they look so good.
Yeah, just rotate the sky like the direction of light, and yeah, just get some interesting shadows and showcase the normals and maybe the
Yep.
roughness imperfections. Although it's a fabric, so you wouldn't expect too much roughness.
Yeah. Like how the mask is converted, the texture maps. Yeah. Great stuff. Again, like I feel like this is like a very purpose driven portfolio, right? Compared to some of the other ones that we've seen today. This is like, okay, I'm gonna start with like a unique asset, which we haven't even looked at. But like I'm gonna start with like a unique asset. Cool. I kind of know like the fundamentals, like I know how to bake, I know how to texture, all that kind of stuff. Then I'm gonna see and I'm gonna have a look at my entire skill set and see where I'm kind of missing out like certain parts. And then I'm gonna build around those skills that I'm missing, right? So for me, this scene, the scene that we looked at first, is like, hey, I don't really know how to build a full scene, but I want to make a simple one, right? So I'm gonna build something like this. Awesome. You've leveled up your skills dramatically whenever it comes to like the environment art creation. Then it's like, okay, maybe realizing that it was too clean, right? And you couldn't do so much with like the texturing, so then you made this, right? And then you keep on building like all those skills, like leveling up your material work, and then all that stuff comes together into like this one that you have for now, right? Like the retro bedroom. So yeah, great stuff. Yeah, awesome work. Like maybe the only thing
Yeah.
that I can say, and it's like an honest to god nitpick, update the banner with your most recent work, and that's it.
Oh yeah.
Let's do a recap then. So what are we thinking?
Oof. I
This is
mean,
a difficult one, right?
would it make sense to keep like those older props if you're going for like an environment arts position? And since it's like it's a bit more simple and it's like older stuff.
But it still looks good though, right? Like these.
Yes, but
What?
fairly basic compared to like the last environment. So I would still keep. Personally, like I wouldn't have props at all if I was aiming for environment position.
Okay.
But yeah, might be a bit harsh. But yeah, that's up to Glenn to decide. To be honest.
Yeah, I
Hmm.
feel honestly like you're saying, if you've seen the first post and then you go back to like the other props, right? Like they're just gonna be like, I don't know,
Yeah, a
maybe a
bit.
little less like in quality. There's still some elements in them though, like for example the banker lamp, where you kind of have those like really intricate motifs and all that kind of stuff. So I would, what it
Yeah.
comes down to me is that the difference between all the work that I can see is not too big where I'm immediately like, oh my god, this needs to go. That being said, there are like quick wins that you could potentially do with like the banker lamp, for example, and just living up the presentation a little bit, right? Where you just like re-render it with like a megascan like floor texture, maybe like some additional assets, and that would like bring it up to like what the rest of the portfolio is, or make it even better.
Oh yeah, that's true.
So let's do like the first one then. I think it's still like something, an interesting point to think about, right? Like um old work, like
Yeah,
when to
maybe
remove
just
it.
retouch.
Yeah, like remove or retouch. Right? And then I think I don't even know if I have it too. I'm honestly like really pleasantly surprised by this portfolio. I think the quality of the work is really good. I think you summed it up perfectly where you said that like the bedroom itself is like a game ready portfolio, right? Or like an industry ready portfolio piece. And I think yeah, it has like everything that I kind of want to see. Nicely broken down as well. It has like all the information that is there. Um, yeah, I
Yeah,
think honestly, this is one of the cases where I would be inclined to say, okay, you've done a lot of stuff that is from um, inspiration or personal pictures or something like that. Maybe try to take it to the next level by like showcasing more of some unique elements that brings you to the foreground as an artist, right? So what I mean by that is like, okay, can you take something and then put your spin on it?
yeah, or
Um,
like showcase your artistic voice. If you like, what the message you're trying to convey, or like perhaps a story.
yeah, exactly.
Now that you got the technical skill set nailed down, now is your time to just express that, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Um, I don't think we're gonna have like a third one for this, right? Unless you have one.
I mean, maybe we can just have. I mean, it's super nitpicky, but
Uh
mm.
oh, here we go.
No, it was gonna be for the like Rand's house environment, but
No, go
yeah.
for it.
I mean, it's like, and again with similar like the San Francisco street, some of the like modular geometry usually tends to look a bit like too low poly, but maybe you could add
Hmm.
some more like, because we don't have like too many examples of like modular geometry apart from those two scenes.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe like some extra like not
Extra attention
some
to
thought on
detail.
the attention. Yeah, that was the word I was looking for. Like same with as Cario mentioned with the saturated albedo values. So like
Yeah.
things like that.
And if we're really nitpicking, then yeah, adding that geometry like to the doors, right? Where like usually doors have like a little bit of a frame around them, or like the frame around the door has like a couple of lips, like that kind of stuff, right? It
Or
all
those
feels
like
like
yeah,
pretty basic, but
like those mental thingies at the end, connecting it to the frame where like that's the rotating point. I don't see that, for example. Or
yeah.
like the glass geometry is a bit too low poly looking. But overall, like, see, the thing is that the big picture is working so well together that you can just ignore those
Yeah.
things. And like your eye doesn't really go towards that immediately. Same with the tiles on the pavement street.
Yeah.
Like I didn't notice that because the lighting was working so well, and like my eye didn't go there.
Yeah. So, number 3 is nitpicky small details.
Summed up perfectly.
Cool. Cairo is saying the bedroom reminds me of Derek's piece. I think he's referring to Derek Elshoff's piece, where he kind of made like also like a bedroom inspired portfolio piece, which looked awesome as well. Just basically like nostalgia art, you know? Yeah, it does remind me of that as well. That is awesome. Yeah, but great stuff, Glenn. Honestly, really good stuff on your portfolio. I love the presentations that you're doing on it as well. Like some stuff could have got shifted around, right? Where you have the sphere first instead of like your most interesting shots that you have on some of the materials. Swap those around. But yeah, awesome work. Yeah, I'm curious to see more of it. Honestly, like I feel like you're on the precipice of like, okay, I've got all the technical skills. I kind of know what I need to do now, and I just want to see you make like more art that is you, right? Um, yeah. Best of luck. Let's see. Last one that we have for today. We're a little bit over time because I haven't been keeping track of the time. Dang it. It is Michael Carville from Vancouver, Canada. He's a lead marketing artist at A Thinking Ape. Okay. See.
Minor thing, I'm a bit confused why it says 3D artist above though. So I would just switch around the titles.
Yeah.
I don't know
Yeah.
if that's an art station thing. I don't know if it's done automatically or you have to actually change that yourself. Been some time.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyways.
No, a good point to bring up. Making advertisements and graphics for online platforms, television. And I've built my career as being a generalist. So I was looking at this before, and this is a point that stuck out to me because it's like, okay, because that's like our normal thing to say, right? It's like you have to have your niche, like you need to shine in that niche as well, and that's probably not what we're gonna see here. So I'm curious to see what we're gonna have here. So
yeah, I mean, if you're owning that, you can just go with it. But your art needs to support it, right? So the standard is gonna be way higher.
Yep, I think so. UA Creatives. What is that? Is that like the ad agency that he's working for?
Yeah, like it, yeah, because I see like I'm going through the first three shots, three portfolio pieces, and it looks like different things every time.
Oh, okay.
I mean,
So these are
I
like
love the way
mobile
it
game ads or
looks.
something.
Yes, or like in the first situation, yeah, marketing stuff. Honestly, looks pretty clean to me, and
My God.
like I love the art style, and like, you can see there's like a variety in it. So like some of them, like the first one is purely 2D and like camera panning and like different 2D effects.
Oh
yeah. I started from the last one actually, so yeah, I was going the other way. But yeah,
no, it's all good.
it gets like mixture of 3D stuff. But again, like it's like I like all those portfolio pieces because it's actually shows variety in terms of art styles and like medium.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think it's great stuff.
Yeah, like you're saying, very versatile, right? Because we're seeing like there's some parts of this where I'm like, oh, these are like UI icons, right? And there's certain parts where it's like, oh, we get like 3D guys in here as well. So it's like a blend of everything.
Yeah, you got the like particles, VFX, you got animation, camera animation. So it's not just like 2D sprites, right? And everything is animated very nicely. I mean, that's also like part of marketing. So it to me it feels like there's been attention to the detail.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna say it, right? I don't know if this is gonna be true or not by the time that we end this portfolio, but I'm like, why are you participating in a portfolio review? That's the feeling that I already get, right? Because I feel like just having a glance at like all the thumbnails and like all the work, it feels like you're pretty comfortable in like what you're doing at this point. And I mean, if you are a lead, right? I mean, you've been doing it for a while as well, I'm assuming. So yeah. But we'll see where we get to that question like at the end. Oh, this is the one that I was looking at, right? Like the 3D like advertisement stuff. Yeah, that's cool. And then we got Camp Mountain as well. Oh, the art style of this is awesome.
Yeah, I love it.
I want to squish all their heads, just look like so
How
so
could you?
huggable. No, oh sorry, not squish, like squeeze. Like as in
Uh-huh,
lovingly
uh-huh.
squeeze, not like.
So mean.
I love that. I love their little run cycle. Have you seen that at the end?
Yes, yes.
Oh my god.
Rumor
So
has
awesome.
it they're still running.
Yeah, one of them still looks like it. It's like going crazy. It's awesome though. When was this posted? 2 months ago. Okay. Ideation, storyboarding, animation, 3D modeling, rigging, editing, documentation of creating workflows, and the motion graphics. Okay. So basically everything. That's cool though. Interesting. Okay, so we started out with that, and then we have like a marketing show reel.
I mean, I think we can, quickly go through that because it's like half of it is like the same
Yeah.
same stuff.
A lot of marketing stuff, right? Which makes sense as a lead
I
marketer.
mean, yeah.
I love this guy as
But yeah,
well. Sam
but yeah, what you
Wise.
said is very interesting because like I feel like we need some context here in case like they're like Michael is looking to go towards to pivot towards environment art and perhaps
Yeah.
game art. So yeah, that's because it seems that you nailed marketing and like you've got the experience, you got the like sipped projects in a way.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think like for a marketing position, that's basically all you need, and you're well into that. But
Let's
yeah, like I'm
see.
mainly interested now because like it's an environment art portfolio review, right? Mainly. So
Hmm.
want to see
Okay.
if we can squeeze through more like feedback on the other stuff.
Yeah. So I got a little bit of context because I'm reading from the Discord right now. For some context, I work in marketing for games as a 3D artist, but I'm hoping to eventually move on to a game dev role in the future. So we're looking at someone who wants to transition into maybe in environments slash materials. And my art station is mostly personal projects. Okay. Okay, that is good to know. Having a look at like the Moon Knight. This is interesting, right?
Ooh.
Because if you're then saying environment art, like I mean it's an obvious one, right? This is not environment art.
Yes.
Um
It looks great. Like I love the
but
texturing style of it.
yeah, it
So
has like the game art flow, right? So like making a high poly, retopo, UVing, like baking, all that kind of stuff. Let's
yeah,
see, grayscale.
breakdown as well.
Oh, it's not baked though. Uh,
No, wait.
oh
It
no.
says retop on UVs.
Yeah. So it is baked, but it's just purely for the sake of like getting an AO, I think.
Oh, right. Yeah,
Like
yeah,
as in
using
like painting the textures, right?
using 3D code. I guess it's like the Blizzard, like the old Blizzard like Warcraft workflow,
Hmm.
and like perhaps old League of Legends. But yeah, that's
Yep.
like just grabbing curvature, things like that, some AO, as you said, thickness, and then just using those to texture everything.
Yep. Looks nice though. Like the subtle animation as well. Looks really nice. Just like a little bit of movement.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, we got some character art in here then. Let me go back to like the main portfolio. Go back to all. And then we kind of go into like the environment art stuff. Where this is the first of a 3-part series. To develop a solid understanding and workflow for producing procedural textures for games in Substance Designer. Okay, that makes sense. That's Daniel Tiger's work in here.
Ah,
I,
yes,
I
yes.
think so.
I
It's one
remember.
of the fundamental courses, right?
I mean, it's different enough to also see the artist's
Yeah.
implementation. But yeah,
It's
it's
also
rating
it's also like
too close to.
yeah, and it's also in service of the environment, right? And I'm honestly
That's true.
looking at it and I can't really see where it's used anyway. And to be fair, like most of these materials are gonna be learned from like a tutorial series, right? Especially because this is like a project specific to develop an understanding of procedural textures. So
Yeah, that's true. That's fair.
it is cool. Like you're still learning from a tutorial, but you're then applying it to like your own kind of project, right? Still good. When it comes to the presentation of these materials, what I try to always push towards is having it in context. So instead of having like a cylinder and a plane, you just have something that like hints at like it used in the scene, or maybe there's like a little bit of storytelling. There's a bunch of great examples where you can have like a nice floor material with then like just like shadows from like a tree or something like that, and it just adds to the flavor of like presentation for materials. So something
Or
to keep in mind.
yeah, maybe something even simpler since you are already using those textures and in the scene. Just to move around the camera, get some close-ups, and showcase where exactly you're using them. Maybe
Yep.
that's enough as well to just showcase that in context, as you said.
Yeah, that could be interesting. Where you have like a screenshot of like where it's used in the scene, and then you could still have like your material sphere or something like that on top of it, right? To just showcase
Yeah.
like the two things. Nice. Yeah, very interesting project here. Let's move on to biome biome texture studies. So, oh, okay. So this is like a three-part studies to just get used to like material creation.
Nice. Yeah. Honestly, I love the variety in terms of materials here.
Yeah.
It's like you got both some stone, got some painted stucco or something like that. I don't exactly know its names, and then some natural ones like some mossy rock, some interesting geological rock, wood.
Yeah. Yeah, it also has like a very nice look when it comes to like the wood on the door, and then you have like the brass, like I don't know, like door knocker or whatever you want to call it. Like it has like a really nice contrast between like just the roughness between the two. Has like a very cinematic feel to it. You know, I can like yeah, like the way that it's rendered and like post processing that is done to it, it has like a very cinematic quality to it. Let's see, and then we go to like the first one, I'm assuming. Yeah. Oh, this is like
Oh no,
very
it's not the last
concept
part.
arty.
Wait, yes. Where's the third study though?
Oh, that's the one that we talked about first. I think.
Oh
Yeah,
yes,
it kind of goes from like oldest to newest, right?
yes, yes.
Um,
My bad.
let's see. This is awesome though. Just in terms of like the colors that are being used and like the composition of it. Very concept arty feeling.
Yeah, and like it's great to that I see that this was made in Unreal, so it feels like you're using the lessons that you got from marketing and like just applying them in like game art scenario. So like
Mm-hmm.
that's honestly great because you get to keep the marketing quality and like you got that eye for detail, and yeah, just applying that in a real time situation, which is honestly just the best way to showcase your skill set.
Yep. Yeah, Cairo is mentioning the same thing in the chat as well. So super strong eye and execution in the final image. Um, yeah. It's also, yeah, I think the main thing that can definitely be leveled up is just the way that you present the stuff that you did for the final image, right? So like the renders of the materials. This stuff is good though. Like the master material showcase, like that's pretty interesting to look at. It's just like the substance designer materials, like kind of just looks nothing too interesting about them, right? Sculpt looks really well. Yeah, I would love to see, especially when this comes to game art, right? Like, how low is the low poly? Like, what does the wireframe look like? Like, more of the technical aspects, right? I'm not expecting like a whole bunch of breakdowns, but you could just like condense this into like one image, into so that I can really get like an understanding of that you understand the limitations of game art as you're getting into it. Because I'm making the assumption that if you're doing a lot of marketing art, that like the restrictions are not really going to apply to you in the same way, right? If you just have like multiple textures on something, like it doesn't matter. Whereas like in game art, we have to be really careful about like how we use textures and materials and like the amount of them and like how big they are. So showcasing that understanding is going to be interesting as well. Some stuff, and then we got like the Celtic temple here, which is like from ArtStation Learning. That's like a good tutorial series. This is one of the cases where I'm just gonna be like, yeah, okay, it's cool that you learned this, but now I want to see like what you can do with that knowledge, right?
Yeah.
And also, I don't think if we then do a comparison to like the end result of like the course and this one, like this one is not as strong as the end result of the course itself. And I think that comes down to like the textures that you use and how you blend them together, and also like how open the composition is compared to like the tutorial that you've been following. So what I'm trying to say with that is that you've made some creative choices that lessened the quality of the end product compared to the tutorial that you were following. In my opinion. I don't know how you feel about that, Angelo.
See, I haven't seen the actual tutorial results, so I don't have the context you got. So I'll let you judge this one.
That's
Like,
okay.
yeah, like I really like some of the trim seats that we got. Like as I scroll down, like it really gives me some like God of War vibes. So
Yeah.
and yeah, I don't know if what the intent was for like those stone grave carvings with those props. They might like they feel a bit noisy to me and like not
Yeah.
defined enough. So, but yeah,
It feels
maybe they were
like,
just following the tutorial, which I don't know. So
yeah, I don't remember if these ones were in the tutorial. I don't think so. But I do agree with you that it kind of feels just like very noisy, and I kind of wanna see like a better shape distribution when it comes into like the large shapes and then the medium shapes and then like smaller noisy shapes. I feel like there's just like a lot of
yeah,
and maybe
visual
that's also a
noise.
shader thing, right? Like because I'm thinking back at the previous project where you showcase like the master shader that you've built with like the detail normal. That can work in certain cases, but you have to be careful with how you apply it onto an object, where it might not be as good in this case,
Yeah,
like
totally.
as effective. Um, yeah, this stuff is interesting though. Like a very, very concept art like approach to it, where you show like the scale of things. It's very unique, and I kind of like it.
Yeah.
Um,
No,
that is cool. What is a shame, and like it's interesting that you brought this up, Angelo, because I didn't even notice that there was so many patterns in the boat. And I'm just like, oh, that stuff is cool, but like we're not seeing any of that in the main shot, you know? Like I
yeah,
wasn't
maybe like
even,
a close-up shot would be yeah
yeah, I wasn't
worth it.
even aware that like patterns were such a big thing in this environment in general, right? Because then if we look at the individual stone carvings, like they have like a lot of patterns built into them, but I don't feel like it's reflected in like the main scene at all.
Yeah, they're not highlighted enough.
Yeah. Or even the gate is missing the same sort of patterns, right? Where you kind of have like the same kind of curly, swirly shapes on the gate as well. Then we could kind of like see the pattern through the whole thing. Hi, Michelle. Can we still send you a portfolio now? No. The way that this works is that we're building from like a back catalog of people that we're looking at currently. So if you want to sign up for that, you can do that here. But I do have to say that like members of our community, they get to skip the queue. So that's what we're looking at today. We're looking at 4 community members that have signed up for their portfolio review. Yeah, let's have a look. So the Celtic Temple, we kind of talked about that. Let's see. So we got some Simon Stalenhag inspired work here with the sci-fi background props. Only using a single trim sheet. Okay, that's cool. So we're getting like some technical restrictions like added to the mix. That's cool. It's interesting because so I love the restrictions that you put on yourself. But I feel that you kind of missed the mark when it comes to working around those restrictions that you set for yourself. So what I mean is that you have like certain shapes going on in your trim sheet, and then you have like a shape just applied here, but I'm also going to assume that the texel density is like way off compared to like the shape on top, right? Because the lip is probably going to be the same size, right? Just quickly check. Yeah, like all the insets, they kind of look consistent in size. So that means that like this might be correct texel density. Let me actually. That might mean that this is this is correct texel density. But that also means that you had to scale up like this island to kind of fit on your trim sheet. So that means that this is going to be like under texel density, right?
Yeah.
So, and that is something that you have to be aware of when you're building something with a trim sheet, is that the trim sheet is going to become the restriction of your geometry. So then you'll have to like find creative solutions around that, where if you have a big shape like this and you know that you can't scale it up by that much, then you'll just have to like add a cut in here and then maybe do something with that cut where you have like another shape that kind of comes into it or something, right? Just to break up like the whole panel.
Or yeah, just add more like geometry and like complex in geometry, just to hide the fact that it's using the same trim sheet. So like you don't have visible patterns.
Yep, exactly. Let's see. Yeah, because it is a really good exercise, because it's really effective of showcasing like how creative you can get with like just one texture that you're playing around with. And I think you can easily push that like way further than you've done it now. Whereas you can kind of see the restrictions on the sphere as well, where bottom I don't mind so much, but then you just added like random paneling on the top that really has no like purpose on the whole thing, right? And it kind of feels like you're just making up for the fact that the other texture was kind of boring.
Yeah, it feels like just adding some gribbles to make it more interesting looking, but if there's no intent to it. Yeah, to me, like just confusing me as to why you would handicap yourself. Just to flex, I guess. But
yeah, I think honestly it's a good exercise though.
It is, but is it a portfolio worthy piece if the quality gets lowered for that reason?
Oh, so that's a good point. If the quality gets lower because of it, it's not, right? But I think if you were to execute something like this successfully and you like you were saying, right? You make it feel like it's not built with a trim sheet, but then you figure out that it is just a single trim sheet, then people are going to be like, "Oh shit, that's actually really really great that you can do like that sort of shapes." But
I remember there was this very famous artist that did that.
Freak.
at some point.
Yeah. It's like 12
It
years
wasn't-
ago. Like he made like an entire laboratory with like a single texture.
So yeah, I
Bring it
mean,
up.
yeah. No, it was
I'm-
also like someone else with from like working Blizzard. But yeah, that was also like at least 5-6 years
Oh.
ago.
Okay.
It was like an office environment, if I recall correctly.
Yeah, let me see if I can find it.
Oof. If anyone knows
So-
that, remembers that from the chat, would appreciate. But yeah, with this one, like
So-
I feel like, yeah, as you said, from the first image, like in both situations, both shots, I could see the actual like repetition. So that's
Yeah.
that's where I wouldn't limit myself.
Exactly. It's this environment. Have you ever seen it?
Yes, that. Wait, is that Door Freaks? Yes, but I was meaning, yeah, Thiago.
Thiago Klafke.
Yeah, that was the other
Ah.
one.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's also super
Yeah,
impressive.
there were some really great examples. Like they inspired me to do the same thing. Yeah, because they put out like a ton of cool stuff where they were just like really like restricting themselves in like the amount of textures that they could use. Yeah. I think he got into Overwatch with that. Oh yeah, I can imagine. Yeah. Yeah, I think it's a good exercise, right? But it basically comes down to what you were saying. Like you can make a modular environment, but if it looks modular, then you're not winning any points, right? Same with a
Yes.
trim sheet. You can build stuff with a trim sheet, but if it doesn't look as good or, well, as good as like unique textures, then what's the point, right? Same with modular assets. As soon as you're cutting corners for time, you need to then make up for the fact that you're cutting corners by doing something smarter on top of it. Yeah. Definitely good exercise. I would definitely like double down on it and like see if you can improve it. And then some chainmail here. But this is just like some material explorations for like chainmail.
Ooh, yes.
It's pretty cool. Yeah. I think overall, let's have a look at the overall portfolio, right? Let's have a look at all. Yeah, it is interesting. I would definitely say that should we do our recap then? Right, let's start there.
Yes.
So a recap is first thing. I think it's honestly it's a difficult one. Right?
Yes, because we cannot say specialized because yeah, the intent is to be like a generalist. And
it's
I
not though,
totally get
right?
it.
Like in the
Oh,
context
yeah.
that he mentioned, like he said, environment or materials, right? So we basically have to pick or at least suggest what he could do, right? So on that topic, I would say that I don't want to drive you in like a certain direction yet. It basically comes down to what you want to do yourself, right? If you really enjoy the creation of like making environments, which I think you do, because there's honestly like quite a lot of them on here, right? So I think there's like a gravitational pull pulling you towards like environment art, right? So that might be like a route chasing down, and you're gonna make materials for those environments anyway. So yeah, maybe the first thing that I'll say is environment art, right? But I'm gonna add the caveat here. Basically, what we just talked about, right? Like trim sheets and modularity, you need to take that extra step and go above like the tutorials, and make it like your own thing. Okay, what's the second one?
Maybe to put the emphasis on the environment art. So like right now you got the first two pieces, like the first three portfolio pieces, like one material that of course like has some variations, but it's not as impressive as other like some of your other posts, like the biome like studies, for example, that showcase like a more complete set of skill set. And then like you got that environment where you limited yourself to one trim seed, which wasn't as strong again as the previous like fully fleshed environments. And then you got the tutorial environment, which looks good, but it's like based on a tutorial. So like we already discussed this a couple of times.
Yeah.
So I would probably not have that like right on the front. So yeah, just if you wanna go to like towards environment and like material art, make sure that that's the focus, and like just shift around to your best work being at the front.
Mm-hmm.
And then
Yep.
I don't know. I mean that's a very big second point because I'm also gonna pick on the characters. They're very nicely made, but I don't know if they belong here or whether they belong here or in a blog post.
Yeah, the way that I would play that is because it kind of depends if you have a subscription to ArtStation or not, right? If you can pick like what to focus on. But in general, what I would do is you land on your portfolio that has like all the environment art pieces. And then you can have like character art as like a separate thing that people can click on, but then they know that it's not going to be your like primary focus, right? That's the way that I would play it. So you're kind of pushing it towards the side so that people know that you can do it,
Yeah,
but
maybe.
it's not your priority, right?
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
I mean that sum up the second point.
And I got a third one, which is like use your marketing background more. Because I feel like there's like a really good opportunity here to like use the background that you have of like selling your art in a specific way. I know that this is like a different target audience, but like as an artist, you're still selling yourself and your portfolio and really infusing that into all the work that you do. So that means paying attention to the presentation, paying attention to like what's going to be like the thumbnail, all that kind of stuff. Like those lessons that you've learned and like all the years that you've gathered your experience can still be used on your portfolio as well. So yeah, keep that in mind, keep leaning on that experience, and yeah, make stuff stand out.
That's a great point actually. I would just condense this whole thing to just think of your like ArtStation portfolio post as like a client and just try to market like that whole piece that you made as best as you can. Like add animation, add some like interesting breakdowns that are like looking super polished.
Yep.
And just sell yourself the way that you've done like through the marketing job.
100%. Yeah. I usually say this in like a different way as well, where you gotta think of yourself as like a business, right? And because that removes like the personal attachment that you can have, right? Like, what if someone like sees this portfolio from your business? Like, what do you want them to see, and how are you gonna make them see it, right? Like you're selling a service or a product to them, like that kind of removes like the personal angle like a little bit, or a client can work as well. Yeah, no, awesome stuff. I think it just comes down to like these couple of points and like the chat that we had about it. But yeah, you have like a really solid foundation to like just make the jump into games if you wanted to. So yeah, keep leaning on the skills that you had, and yeah, keep building up on top of it. All right, let's switch back to just us two.
Yeah, it's okay. We're already 40 minutes too late.
Already 40. Yeah, I know. I think honestly, this is the thing that I always struggle with, right? Because I feel like we do talk a lot and we do try to bring up like interesting points that are different between portfolios, right? So yeah, we're gonna go over time, but I think it's also worth it for people to have that additional context and that content just so that, because the way that I look at it is we're potentially changing their life, right?
Yes.
So I think it's worth us like taking like sometimes a little bit of extra time, but then finding the balance between like, hey, I still need to go to sleep and like work tomorrow. So yeah. Okay, but talking about time, we're not gonna make it longer than it needs to be. I'm just gonna thank everyone for being here. It was lovely to have you in the chat, and the chat actually worked for once, so that was amazing to see as well. Even though it like covered up half the screen, so sorry about that. But yeah, thanks for being here, and thanks to you, man. Thanks for being here
Yeah,
as
no,
well. Always a
it's always
pleasure.
fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
Excited to look more portfolios.
Hell yeah. Yeah. And I feel like honestly doing four is like a good number. We'll see if we can kind of speed things up for the next one, and then we'll go from there. All right.
Yeah.
You wanna
Sounds
say
good.
any last words to like all the
Oof.
people here?
Oh, bye, Cairo. I miss you.
Aw, cute. Okay. See you, everyone. See you in the next one.
See
Bye
ya.
bye. Oh, my button stopped working. It does this
Oh,
every
no.
time. Shit. Bye.